You've been waiting for this video for a while now. You've been sitting there going, Smitty, you've been yelling.
Smitty, can you please bring me a tight end breakout sleeping giant? Tight end sleeping outside the top 10, Smitty. That could be top 5 tight ends, Smitty. Can you please bring that video to my doorstep?
Well, I've got good news for you, Bob. Today's the day. We're live right now. First in the building's Melvin, followed by Lunchbox and Lupo and Nathan. I've got news for you. Not only are we live right now, but we're going straight into a premiere before the live. And I'm going to be chatting here the entire time about this man right here, Chig Okonkwo. The best tight end value in fantasy football, period. There's no argument. There's no equivocation. There's no stuttering. There's no hesitation in my voice whatsoever. Chig Okonkwo, followed by this man. And the first, 10 minutes of this show is a mocked up, edited, beautiful presentation on Chig Okonkwo and how he's going to be an absolute monster for you. A player your league mates don't quite see coming, because his ADP's in double-digit round territory. After we break down Chig Okonkwo with this little pre-recorded beauty, this little pre-recorded number, we're jumping straight into the live format, which is this format right here, because I am live, and we're talking about these three gentlemen live together. Here is the Chig Okonkwo intro. You are looking at my top 4 tight ends for being capable of climbing into the top 5. Tight ends that rank outside the top 10. Guys you find in double-digit rounds. You're finding Okonkwo in double-digit rounds. You're finding Cole Kmet. You're finding Dalton Kincaid, the rookie. Possibly the next Travis Kelce. And you got Taysom Hill, this gadget tight end that has been making people shake their heads for years now. A lot of people very, very anti-Taysom Hill. A lot of people had their panties in a bunch and got real upset the year he went into the quarterback position from the tight end role, and we told you to grab him.
Smitty said for us to draft Taysom Hill because there could be some quarterback play happening, even though he's designated a tight end.
Okonkwo, Kincaid, Cole Kmet, Hill, the Fantasy Football Show, Breakout, Tight End Edition. These guys live outside the top 10. One of them could end up being top 5 in 2023. Yeah, that show begins right now.
This is the Fantasy Football Show with your host, Smitty.
Take a lap.
Chig Okonkwo exploded in 2023, and you might say, Smitty, 46 targets, 32 receptions, 450 yards, and 3 TDs. He
exploded?
Now, Smitty, we got to talk about the way you define explosion.
Let me get a little more detailed for you. When you truly break down this guy's numbers and stats, considering he wasn't used as a starter all year long, they were slowly unleashing him. They started design plays for him, run designed plays, pass designed plays, all over the field, putting this guy on the map and using him as a weapon. And that's what he was. He wasn't just a tight end, he was a weapon. At 6'3", 238, they're using him as a running back at times. This is like the tight end version of a Deebo Samuel.
Smitty, you're running at the mouth again.
Am I, Bob? Because what you're looking at is PFF's grading on this man, ranking him inside the top 7 in every one of these categories out of 48 qualified tight ends. Receiving grade, 84.6, number 2. Yards per route run, number 1 in the National Football League. Over Kelce, over everybody. Yards per reception, 14 yards per reception, number 1. Yards after catch, yak, per reception, 7.8, tied for second in the NFL. Targets per route run, 26.2%, number 2. Remember when I told you Kadarius Toney was up here too, having more yards per route run than Travis Kelce? This guy's right up there with both of them. Number 2 in the National Football League out of just tight ends. Number 2 in the National Football League out of tight ends for yards per route run. Such an important stat. Passer rating when targeted, 125.1, number 7. Now enter in, first of all, can we step back for a second and understand how big these numbers are? These stats tell you He's a top 5 tight end in the making.
But Smitty, he had 450 yards and 3 TDs.
This is the team starting to realize what kind of weapon they have on their hands. These right here tell you how efficient he was with what was given to him. Now, you might say to yourself, Smitty, what about Hopkins? He's coming in to gobble up a lot of targets. Look, even if Tannehill is not the same Tannehill that delivered the kind of production that he delivered to A.J. Brown back in the day, Tannehill can still go out and play rather decent but not great football and be able to feed this man 800, 900, maybe even 950, 10 touchdowns, 10 plus touchdowns, double the reception totals to 60, 65. This guy could have a top 5 season with ease, and Hopkins only stretches the field. Hopkins lives in double teams. Hopkins has never seen single coverage. So this guy is going to be open all over the field, and with Hopkins stretching the defense and crowding certain sectors of the field, guess who's going to be sitting in a plane in an open space, running the football with Hopkins stretching the field, catching the football in the flat, lining up all over the field, dragging across the field 10 yards deep, while this man Hopkins is stretching the field. DeAndre Hopkins is the best thing that could have happened to Chig Okonkwo, because if Chig Okonkwo was the number 1 option, and make no mistake about it, Burks might have led in yardage if Burks was left to the number 1 wide receiver role, who I'm not high on, by the way. And everybody that's still trying to cling on to Burks, he's going to be fine. This is the number 2 option. Maybe Burks still outperforms him yardage-wise, and I don't even know that that's a guarantee. But if you're like, Smitty, I have Burks, I'm going to defend him. You're typing your angry message right now. This is the second option. This is the guy that Tannehill or any quarterback that lines up under center in Tennessee is going to look to. This is the touchdown guy. He could outscore Hopkins in touchdowns, to be honest with you, but this guy could get 910 plus touchdowns and 60 plus receptions with ease. And every single year, a tight end outside the top 10 tight ends sneaks into the top 5. And if I had to predict a guy that does that this 2023 season, if I'm not saying Dalton Kincaid, who is the next guy on the list, and he could start off a little bit slower as a rookie, so he has a less likely chance of doing it all year long, but at the end of the year, we're going to start seeing brilliance. At the middle of the year, we're going to start seeing this guy throw and flash brilliance all over the field, this Dalton Kincaid character. But if anybody can do it from the jump and actually finish as a top 5 tight end in fantasy football scoring on the year, it's this guy, Chig Okonkwo, this 6'3", 238 monster that ranked number 2 in the National Football League in receiving grade. Yards per route run, number 1. Yards per reception, number 1. Yak yards per reception, number 2. Targets per route run, number 2. Out of 47 or 48 qualified tight ends, this man was a top of every single statistical category. And this passer rating is still impressive, but these numbers right here are his top 1 or 2 across the board. I don't think people realize how good Chig Okonkwo can be. And for that reason, we are officially making Chig Okonkwo a Moon Man. Welcome to the Moon Men family. Chig Okonkwo.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
Look at this man. We've got Dalton Kincaid. You know I'm going to talk about him next.
Space Monsters.
And Chig Okonkwo. 2 tight ends have made the Moon Man list. Congratulations to Chig Okonkwo. He is going to potentially win people leagues. And the most beautiful part, this final statement of mine that should resonate through your entire body as you walk into every single draft go forward. This man is in double-digit rounds. In fact, let me check out live right now on my phone without any sort of delay where Chig Okonkwo is going in tight end rankings on Underdog Fantasy, the best ADP data you can find. Chig Okonkwo is going as tight end number, drum roll, tight end number 11. He's outside the top 10. He's going at 128 overall. We're talking about double-digit rounds outside of the top 10. This is the sleeping giant, top 5 tight end in the making, the next Mark Andrews, the next guy that's going to be 2, 3, 4, 5 overall every single year go forward if I had to pick one out. I think Kincaid, we'll talk about him next. I think Kincaid could be the 1 or 2, but he might not be as quick starting as Okonkwo. And to be honest with you, one of my favorite strategies is to couple these two guys together. Grab Kincaid, grab Okonkwo, and start Okonkwo. In best ball, you just draft both and you let the optimal scoring set whoever scores higher. You don't have to do a thing. But this man right here, Okonkwo, my number 1, really. I love Kincaid, and I love the combo, and you're about to hear why I think Kincaid can be better than Okonkwo. But in terms of 2023, this is the guy you want to take if you want that sneaky top 5 tight end, and you want to be the guy that walks out of your draft and people go, how in the hell did you know Chig Okonkwo was going to be a top 5 tight end this season? That's why you won, son. And you say, give me that mashed potato. Let's go, mashed potatoes! Chig Okonkwo will win leagues in double-digit rounds. Learn about it. And now for the remainder of the live show, where we break down Kincaid next, and we talk about Cole Kmet, we talk about Taysom Hill. The Fantasy Football Show live begins right now. Buckle up.
Live from the FantasyFootballShow.com studios, it's the Fantasy Football Show live. Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Eastern.
What is going on, good people? Welcome to the Fantasy Football Show. This is live. We are live. I appreciate everybody in the building here. And we feel like, there's a little almost controversy in the chat already with some of these names, which is very surprising to me. It's very surprising to me that anybody can come in here and suggest that Chig Okonkwo is not one of the biggest breakout players in all of 2023 when these numbers are staggering. These numbers are glaring. These numbers are petrifying. Petrified Peters and scared Scots everywhere. Number 2 receiving grade for all 48 tight ends that were looked at. The number 1 yards per route run, the number 1 yards per reception, and number 2 in yak per reception. These are not things you can get with the volume that he had. This isn't like he had 10 receptions or 5 receptions. This is a qualifying number that you can't get into this grading system or be looked at in the top 48 tight ends if you didn't hit certain numbers. This guy pulled in 40 plus or 32 receptions, 46 targets. The sky's the limit for him. And if anybody thinks for a second that Chig Okonkwo is going to be hampered by Hopkins or hampered by the passing attack, keep in mind what you saw last year. Keep in mind that he's a designed player, getting designed runs, getting designed carries and receptions and designed plays that go straight to him, and that's going to protect his piece of the pie. And when someone says, Smitty, but what about Hopkins? Chig Okonkwo is already getting a sliver. This is Chig's volume. He's already getting a sliver of the pie that's already allotted for him. It doesn't matter who comes into this pie and starts dividing up these other pieces. This is a Chig Okonkwo piece already set aside. And that's what people need to understand about the volume that is Chig Okonkwo's to have in 2023. So Chig, we're sending to the moon. We're Smitty approving him, sending him to the moon. We're putting him on the Moon Man list.
The Moon Men, dropping loads in outer space.
And anybody that wishes to call and debate these numbers by saying something silly and ridiculous, and you want to make yourself look quite hilarious, and the Patrick, you want to call in and come and argue against these numbers, I'm waiting. Just dial in, the Patrick. I dare you. This is the group. This is not this is my top 5 wide tight ends list, Smitty. This is not, hey, Smitty, can you give me your top 5 tight ends? This is not that group. If you're in here expecting to see your favorite player, if you're in here expecting to see, I don't know, a guy like Andrews or something, you're in the wrong video. This is a video of tight ends outside of the top 10 that can be top 5 tight end players. That's what this video is about. This video is not about, let's find the obvious name here. This is a video. This is like when in 2018, 2019, and 2020, when I ranked number 1 in the entire fantasy industry, according to Fantasy Pros, looking at every single analyst out there in the industry. Number 1 in the industry. 3 straight years, average number 1. And number 1 in at least one of those 3 years, and number 1 average. Waller and Hawkinson. You know how many people said Waller? Waller's your surprise breakout top 1 to 5 tight end, Smitty. Same thing the Patrick's saying about this. Same thing that Wild Bill's saying about this. No offense, guys. But the same thing you're saying about this, I heard about my Darren Waller prediction, where I had Waller and Hawkinson higher than every verifiable by Fantasy Pros, by ahead of every single analyst in the entire fantasy industry. No one had Hawkinson ranked higher. Nobody. It's verifiable. And you know what people said to me then? Hawkinson failed his rookie year. He's not going to do it. This is the guy. This is the guy. And you often see it in that breakout year, the flash of brilliance, and you have people circle back like, no offense, the Patrick, and no offense, Wild Bill, but you're coming in and talking about last year. Hey, but last year he's not getting the volume. Didn't you think he should have got more yards? This is what you have to do with tight ends, and we'll get to this in a minute as to why this guy's the exception to the rule in terms of when a tight end breaks out, whether he's a rookie or it's his first year doing it, and you get to identify what's going on. It takes the tight end a little time to get into his groove, get into a situation where you can really predict how he's gonna climb, how he's gonna excel. The tight end position does not evolve quickly. It definitely is a position that requires more time. And if you're objective about it, if you're astute when it comes to identifying the things and qualities that make a tight end turn into Hawkinson, turn into Waller, you see someone like this and you say, holy shit, everyone is missing the boat. And you can come in and say you like Okonkwo, but I like Okonkwo, but if you don't think he's the number 1 or number 2 tight end in the criteria that I'm laying out for you right now, a top 10 plus tight end that could finish top 5, and you come in here and say I like Okonkwo, you don't like Okonkwo, and I'll take away your Okonkwo card for even mentioning that word, that I like him. You don't like him. If you liked him, this video wouldn't rub you the wrong way at all. You love this video, every single piece of it, and I'm taking away your Bijan card while we're at it as well.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
So, the Patrick, you lost your Bijan card.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
And while Bill, I'll have to go back and reread your comments. I might come for your Bijan card too.
Your Bijan card has been revoked.
But this is the number 1 breakout tight end in 2023 fantasy football, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Any argument in the chat, Dosage, not even close. Not even close. You know why it's not close? These numbers right here. Yards per route run. This isn't one category. Yards per route run, 1. Yards per reception, 1. Yak yards. Yards after catch per reception, number 2. Literally, targets per route run, number 2. He's literally first or second in every single major category. And this category is important too, the passer rating of his quarterback. But these are the most important categories. He was 1 and 2 across the board. Give me a break. Not a breakout candidate. You get him in the double-digit rounds. You're getting him as tight end number 11, 12, sometimes 13. Get out of here. Get out of here. You have no argument. You have zero argument against this point. Top 5 to 10 tight end, trapped outside the top 10. I say he's the surprise number 5 this year. He's in the top 5. And this guy, okay, so I've already gone through this enough with Okonkwo. That's why I created the entire video in the beginning to jump straight to Kincaid. And here I am, another 10 minutes into the video, 20 total, still telling people it is Okonkwo. But the thing about this guy, Dalton Kincaid, is he's probably better. He's probably better. The thing about it is he is the rookie. He is potentially going to get eased into the situation. He is maybe not going to get the volume that this man will get right out of the gate. Eventually he will. I believe he becomes the slot wide receiver, rotational basis, whatever. He becomes the number 2 target for Josh Allen moving forward, similar to how, Kelsey has become the number 1 target for Mahomes, and everybody expects that. They don't laugh at it. You get laughed at if you don't think Kelsey's the number 1 option on the KC Chiefs. The same thing eventually will become the case over in Buffalo. I'm not saying in year 1 he beats out Stephon Diggs. I'm saying as Diggs gets older, this guy's going to become the number 1 option within the next handful of years. But in year 1 and in year 2, and we're specifically talking redraft right now, we can dip into the dynasty. This man right here, Dalton Kincaid, is going to be force-fed the football to a significant degree that puts him in conversations where people are crying and moaning and complaining and emailing ESPN and saying,
I don't understand. This guy shouldn't be a tight end. He shouldn't be a tight end. He's a wide receiver. He's wanted up a wide receiver, Smitty. And I don't understand why Bob over in accounting knew that this guy was playing wide receiver. And here I am in my league, Smitty, in ESPN. I'm pleading to you, ESPN. I'm pleading to you. Can you please take away his tight end eligibility? He's a wide receiver, gosh darn it.
And then you're going to have other people saying things like, you know what? This guy deserves to be a wide receiver and tight end. But you know what ESPN's going to do? Nothing. You know what a lot of the platforms are going to do? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And here's the Patrick again. Patrick, are you trying to start your own show today or something? Because you're literally coming in trying to fantasy explain everybody into my show. You're allowed to have different opinions. But everything you're saying, I'm saying something, the video's going, no. You're right about eventually, but year 1, that's not the guy. The Patrick, this is why we're here. The phone line's open. I haven't seen you call in yet. If you want to debate it, I appreciate and love you. But what are you trying out for right now today? It's like everything I said. I can tell you the world's flat. You're going to tell me, no, it's not. Okay, come here. Dial into the show if you want to have a little debate. Tell me why I'm wrong, the Patrick. Tell me why you have more knowledge than I do right now on these 2 topics and why I'm so early and it's not going to happen. Kincaid is going to be force-fed. Again, have patience with him. Because what I could see happening in this scenario, very similar to the Kenneth Walker scenario last year, very similar to the Dameon Pierce scenario last year, where we said these guys are going to pop. These guys are going to be amazing. But be patient with Kenneth Walker. Could take till week 4. Could take till week 5. Be patient with Breece Hall. No one cut Breece Hall. But people cut Kenneth Walker in droves. And people should be ashamed of themselves that dropped Kenneth Walker. People dropped Dameon Pierce in droves. Those people should be ashamed of themselves. And it was like a knee-jerk reaction, too. Let's cut Dameon Pierce after week 1 or 2. Smitty, you were wrong about this Dameon Pierce fella. I'll tell you, I'm cutting him right now. Big mistake. Very, very wrong. Shouldn't have gone that way. I told you not to drop Dameon Pierce. I told you not to cut Kenneth Walker. Just like I'm telling you, don't panic on Kincaid if he's not out the gate producing what I'm saying he could produce. That's why Okonkwo ranks 1. That's why Chiggy ranks 1, because this guy is going to be a process in the making. Because A, he's a rookie. He will be thrown to the fire, which will have him evolve. Think Christian Watson. How good did Christian Watson look in week 1? Not that good. How good did he look in week 2? Wasn't the best. How good did he look by the time he got in a rhythm midseason? He looked like an absolute all-star out there. And if you laugh at that, you didn't look at his 3 or 4 game span where he outplayed every single wide receiver. You heard me correct. I'm not exaggerating. I'm not making up some story. I'm not singing you a lullaby. I'm literally telling you he was the best wide receiver in that 3 game span in the National Football League, Christian Watson. In that 3 game span, 3 straight games, no one stood a chance. And so at some point during the middle of the season on, hopefully earlier, maybe from week 1 on, we don't know for certainty, but at some point during the season, this guy, Dalton Kincaid, is going to be on the upward trajectory. This guy is going to be on a rocket ship heading toward the moon. I just don't know if it's going to be week 2. I don't know if it's going to be week 1. I don't know if it's going to be week 4. I don't know if he'll go nuts in week 1. I don't know if he'll take half a season. We don't know, and that's why at the end of the day, he's not going to finish necessarily in the top 5. He's going to have to at some point get into top 5 form and show that flashes of brilliance and get into a positioning to where we're looking at 2024 going, wow, he finished in the top 5 in the last 8 weeks of the season. And if you extrapolate that out, he was a top 5 tight end in that period of time. That's the kind of reworking and reverse engineering we're going to have to do looking back at Kincaid. Okonkwo can do it from the jump. Okonkwo can do it from the jump. And that's the bottom line. You can call in the Patrick if you want. It's definitely, the phone lines are open. We got 147 people in here according to Sir, and I agree. I concur. 147, I see only 56 thumbs up. So punch that thumb up button on your way in the door. In Dynasty, this is my future number 1 tight end in the National Football League. In a bold setting, in a bold angle. I'm not coming in saying I'm drafting him there. I'm not saying anybody's expectation should be that he's the number 1 Dynasty tight end. I'm saying I'm sneaking in, and I'm saying real quietly to all my buddies, right, all of you, and I'm saying gather around real quick. We got a little meeting here. Nobody knows this is happening. It hasn't been released yet. The script has not been released. Nobody knows that the script says this.
The script strikes again.
The script. Shh, come in closer. Come in. Bring it in. Dalton Kincaid in a year and a half will be the number 1 tight end in the National Football League. Okay, it's in the script. The script has it. So, okay, it's just nobody sees it coming. We got the script this morning. And Dalton Kincaid's going to, in a year and a half, become the number 1 tight end in the National Football League. It's going to be weird. It's going to be awkward. No one saw it being written into the script. It is what it is, as Barkley said earlier. That's also a line in the script that we wrote in for him. And I just want you to know that in advance. Don't tell anybody. Keep it on the DL. We don't want panic out there because Dalton Kincaid is a future number 1 tight end is an absolute crazy thought to digest right now. So let's ease it out slowly. We got, real quickly, Avi, I'm going to come to you in a second. Cole Kmet, very quickly. These are 2 other players. They're not in the same category for me. I really like Kmet and I like Hill, but these guys are almost in their own tier. We got Okonkwo, we got Kincaid, and then we got a tier break, but it's a fun tier break because this guy Kmet can be paired with Kincaid and or Taysom Hill, and Kmet can carry you right from the jump. I think he is capable of top 5 numbers. I think he's more of like a 6 to 10 guy. I think he is a guy that outside the top 10, and he does go outside the top 10, can score like a 5-7 guy, a 5-7 overall tight end type of player. I think Taysom Hill's the same way. Do I think at the end of the day, at the end of the year, these guys finish in the top 5? Probably not. They're capable of it, but probably not. But I think they'll dance in that territory, and maybe they'll play at that level for a significant amount of time that you can see coming that's predictive and say, okay, Kmet's playing, he's balling out right now. I'm putting him in my lineup. Or again, you start him in week 1 and you're waiting on Kincaid. Or you pair Kmet and Okonkwo together in a best ball. On Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty, where we're drafting tonight on the fast puppy drafts. And if you aren't prepared and signed up, you're not going to get in tonight because the draft will fill up immediately. Here is that link right here. I'm dropping it in the live chat. Please, I'm gonna pin it right now. Please sign up in advance so that you get in and you don't miss out on drafting tonight on Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Okay, so let me go ahead and pin that in the live chat this very second. Here it is. It's pinned. Underdog Fantasy promo code Smitty. Link is pinned in the live chat. If you're watching the replay of this video, the link is in the description of this video and every video. But you want to sign up. Minimum of $10. That's it. They'll double whatever you deposit your first time. So if you deposit 50, they'll give you 50. Up to 100. So if you deposit 100, they'll give you 100. You deposit 10, the minimum, they'll give you 10. You'll have $20 to play. And the $5 are they $5 puppies? I think they're $5 puppies. Those are going on right now. We'll do those tonight. So Kmet is a guy you can draft with Okonkwo in best ball, and it's a fantastic duo. Hill and Okonkwo. Hill and Kincaid's a little riskier because, like I said, slow start, maybe some inconsistency. Taysom Hill, I envision, that hurt my elbow. Taysom Hill, I envision going out and being top 5 for a string of games, and then after that he cools off and you kind of know to put him on the bench. He's going to be very, very situational. He's going to be very, very predictive in a way. Once he's going strong, you'll know to put him in there. Once he's not, you'll know to pull him out. He's not a guy that's going to have 17 straight games. Steven, mute yourself if you could while you wait. He's not a guy that's going to have an amazing season all year long for 17 straight weeks. But Cole Kmet is a guy that's a little more likely to. I just have him slightly below Okonkwo and Kincaid. So it's Okonkwo, Kincaid, tier break, Cole Kmet, tier break, Taysom Hill, all of which have top 5 potential at their position and at the tight end position, either in spots with Hill and Kmet or all season for Okonkwo and probably more than half the season for Kincaid. So get Dalton Kincaided right now. I thought I could go get my drink fast enough, but I couldn't. All right, let's hit the phone line and have an open discussion and forum on this topic. Let's first go to Avi, who called first. I still don't see the Patrick calling in. The Patrick, look, you can call in and I won't just yell at you or anything, but you came in a little hot. You started disagreeing with everything that the show was cranking out, which I don't necessarily have a problem with, because I want differing opinions here. But you've been anti-everything the moment you walked in the door, and we're waiting for you to give a phone call in here. Go ahead, Avi. You're live.
Yo, what's going on, Smitty? About this tight end, I don't really know much about him. Seems like he's got some good upside. So I don't tight ends in fantasy are hard to predict. There's only 3 or 4 dominant ones. So I don't really worry about tight end in fantasy too much, honestly, because someone's going to have Kelsey and the rest are kind of as it goes. But I think this guy could be good. But I have another question for you. It's just, do you think we should draft Barkley still in the second round? And is that a thing you're fine with? Or does he have to go to practice? What's that?
Do I draft Barkley?
Yeah, second round.
We did a video on it yesterday for who knows how long. I don't know if you missed that, but I mean, he's probably going to fall into the mid to late second round. I would guess. I mean, I've heard some people say that he could go into the top of the third. I don't see that happening. He's not holding out, bro. He's going to do the initial holdout flex, for a little while and hold it for as long as he can. But think about it logically. I mean, is there a chance? Is there a chance that he's in some weird state of mind that he's I'm not gonna play and I'm gonna stand up for the RB, and RB's everywhere. Salute him. He somehow gets a deal next year, and it all kind of works out. Is there a shot that happens? I believe there's a small percentage chance that something like that could go down. I mean, sure. Anything can happen. Did any of us see Calvin Ridley stepping away? No, none of us did. Did anybody see, Michael Vick getting raptured from the NFL with the whole dog situation and going to jail or prison? No one saw a lot of things that happened. So I mean, we always have to keep an open mind. But in generally speaking, and using deductive reasoning and logic, what is he going to gain right now by holding out? The only thing the NFL could do, which is never, the precedent is crazy. They can rework a 1-year contract. It's rarely ever done, and that's why we've never even really talked about it. And it's something that you almost forget exists. But they could literally do an adjusted 1-year contract and say, we're going to give you $15 million. instead of that. And that's something you don't hear anybody talk about, and you forget that it even exists. It's a weird situation, and the reason you don't hear people talk about it is because I don't know the last time it's happened on a franchise tag player. So he could get a 12 to $10.1 million is what he's franchise tagged at. Could they step up and say, we're going to give you 14 or 15 million on a 1-year adjusted deal on this? That's probably more likely than him holding out, like if I had to guess. But holding out, like long-term holdout, it makes no sense for him because he gains rust, cobwebs. If he decides to come back, then he's going to have less money that's going to come to him. And if he's worried about the 10.1 million being too low, how is he going to like a bunch of game checks ripped from that $10.1 million amount of money that he's on a 1-year deal the moment he signs it? And at the end of the day, he can't get out of this situation. He can't get a long-term deal. Long-term deal is now off the table. That's the whole point of the 4 p.m. deadline yesterday. So what's he going to do? And the other thing is, if he's going to play on it eventually, think about this. Is like, why would he put himself in a position where he's not ready or prepared and he can't be his best self? If he's banking on himself, he's got to go out and ball out, bro. He's got to go out and ball out. And if he missteps on that, he's not going to get even close to what he thinks he's going to get next year at 27 years old, trying to find this three-year deal at $15 million a pop. Long story short, draft him in the second round with confidence, but would I draft him in every league anyway? No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't take him in every league anyway. So nothing really changes for me other than I think I'm going to get him at a value now.
I just think Barkley in the second round, it's fantasy football. He's a beast. So I think that's a pretty good risk to take. I have one other quick question I'm struggling with. Can you just rank these 4 wide receivers real quick?
Yeah, real quickly. Real quickly. Hold on one second, Avi. $10 super chat. $10 super chat from my boy Branbury, who says, I'm 26 minutes behind in the gym. Listen to you every day. Just want to say I believe Taysom Hill in the weeklies is a must-have on Underdog. Hit that like button on your way in. Stop playing. Thank you, Branbury. Appreciate you dropping that super chat. And I agree with you. Taysom Hill to the moon at the cost. The cost is like virtually free. And in weeklies, you're right, because in weeklies on Underdog Fantasy, promo code Smitty, you only need 1 week for your lineup to pop because you win $20K if you win first place in any given week. There's no end of season prize. You draft one team. You don't redraft every week. It is a best ball season long, but its prizes are weekly only. And so week 15 is the same as week 10, is the same as week 5, that they don't relate. And there's a $20K prize for first, a $10K prize for second, $9K for third, $8K for fourth. And it's like having 17 separate leagues with your team. It's like you draft one team and you get 17 different 1-week leagues. It's absolutely amazing. And you're right. In weeklies, he's even more valuable. Go ahead with your question. Thank you for the super chat, Brantberry. Go ahead with your question on receivers, you said?
Yeah. Quick question. Just rank these 4 wide receivers full PPR just for this season going in right now. Stephon Diggs, A.J. Brown, C.D. Lamb, and St. Brown. How would you rank those 4?
Diggs, Lamb, A.J. Brown, and
Lamb over St. Brown?
Yeah, Diggs, hold on. Diggs, Lamb, AJB, and St. Brown.
Well, St. Brown last. I would take
No. I'm not ranking them yet. I'm just writing them down.
Oh, my fault.
Okay, so I'm gonna say that number 1 for me. Like, this is tough because I feel like AJ Brown, he's got the ability to be the number 1. I just worry about injury with him. But you could say, hey, Smitty, St. Brown's the one that got hurt. Like, what are you talking about? But his knees just concern me a little more. His offense is changing. He's got turmoil. This, regardless of what happened last year, this is the man that I think is going to have the best season. So I'm going to say St. Brown is my number 1 of this crew. Number 2, I'd probably bet on A.J. Brown because of the offense, because of him, because of his history of dropping massive, wads on the field every single year. Lamb, I'd probably put Diggs third, Lamb fourth, but that doesn't mean they're all not neck and neck. These guys are going from like 11 to 14 for me, or 10 to 14. So they're very, very close. But that's how I probably rank it. 1, 2,
Yeah.
1, 2, 3, 4.
I mean, I like them all. I struggle with like who to pick sometimes. Like I'd probably take AJ Brown and St. Brown out of those. If I wanted 2 out of those 4, I'd probably say those 2. But yeah. All right. Thank you.
All right, Avi, appreciate it.
Have a good night.
All right, let's go over to Steven. Steven, you're live. Hello, you're on mute, Steven.
No, I understand Dalton Kincaid as far as a dynasty draft or something like that, but I don't know. Dawson Knox was drafted in 2019. He's still there.
Dawson.
He's a veteran tight end, and I think he'll have much better numbers than Kincaid.
You know what Dawson Knox is
redraft.
going to be doing? You know what he's going to be doing? Getting Dalton Kincaid a coffee. He's going to say, "Get me a coffee. Get me a coffee, Knox." Love Dalton. Look, Steven, I get what you're saying, bro, but the bottom line is this guy, Kincaid, is playing an entirely different position than Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is blocking. He's not that he's not going to catch 3, 4, 5 touchdowns on the year, breaking off a block and catching some, running some delayed, assignment.
Well, I would just say he made the Pro Bowl last year.
Hold on,
So,
Steven.
So that's not, chicken feed.
Algier was also great last year, and that means nothing. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. Last year's boring. Last year is, remember when is the most boring form of conversation. Look, all I'm telling you is Dawson Knox is going to be blocking, and Kincaid gets to play wide receiver. It just may take some time. If week 1 comes and Kincaid's got 1 catch or runs 1 route and everybody starts freaking out and drops him, they're not paying attention because we don't know as a rookie how quickly he will pick up the entire offense. Thank you, Oat Smasher. I appreciate you. So you got to have patience with this one. But Dawson Knox
That's what I say with it. In a dynasty, I understand it, but as far as a redraft league, there's been very, very few tight ends that make any impact their first year.
Right, and this is the argument you have with people that are just going to repeat. No offense, Steven. I love you. You know that. That are just going to repeat history. Let me tell you what history shows. Can I ask you a question? Name a tight end, not Travis Kelce. Name another tight end that came out that was pretty good. That we expected monster things from. Name that player.
Well, his rookie season, what was it, the boy down there in Atlanta when he had Matt Ryan.
Pitts. Okay. Kyle Pitts.
Other than that, and Jeremy Shockey, that's been about it.
Okay. Did any one of them have a top 4 quarterback? The answer is no.
Maybe not.
The answer is no. What I'm trying to tell you, there are pieces at play that are being these dots that are being connected right now in your mind as you're putting it together. You're going, holy shit, Smitty. Holy shit. You're right. That there are things colliding. Steven, hold on.
Are you taking Dalton Kincaid as your number 1 tight end late?
I explained that in the whole video. I'll answer that again though for you. But this is what I wanted to describe to you and tell you is that at some point it could be a little time. If I'm telling you he could get 1 catch in week 1, do you think I want you to start him in week 1, Steven? No. As I said in the beginning of the show, you want to cuff him to a player you plan to start ahead of him until he's ready and gets unleashed because we have no idea when he's going to be fully unlocked. I said this for like 5 minutes, Steven. This is like Kenneth Walker and Dameon Pierce last year. We're going to have.
Well, you
could start off so bad that you cut him.
A year to a year and a half. You said you're taking him in dynasty, but you weren't sure about redraft.
When did I say that, Steven?
That's all I'm saying.
No. Whoa. When did I ever say that? I've never said year and a half. I have never said wait on Kincaid and don't ever play him in 2023. Where did you get that? What kind of nonsense did you find and try and tie me to it, put my name to it? What are you talking about?
I'm looking up through the timesheet right now to where you said a year to a year and a half. He's not going to be able to hit until maybe
no,
a
Steven,
little
Steven,
bit
you
later.
didn't pay attention to anything I said for the last 20 minutes or the Dalton Kincaid videos that I've dropped over and over the entire offseason. Never once did I ever say Dalton Kincaid's taking a year and a half to become great and relevant. I said it'd take him a year and a half to become Travis Kelce. That's what I said. You're trying
a
to
year
say,
and a half to become Travis
to become
Kelce.
Travis
All right.
Kelce. That is a whole different ballgame than becoming a year and a half to becoming a player that you use. I very, very clearly said in the video, in this whole video, that you're going to want to wait and be patient because it can happen week 5. It can happen week 6. He's going to become a wide receiver. He's going to become a wide receiver. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to say, hey, Dawson Knox, where's my coffee? And get that block, will you? Take care of that block, will you? I don't know how to block. They're not going to teach me how to block. I'm running routes, baby. Full go. Let's do streaks down the field. So let me connect the dots for you, Steven, because I know they're starting to connect. I think you're starting to feel it. Top 4 quarterback. Top 4. Someone could argue number 1 quarterback. Top 4 quarterback in the National Football League. We've been waiting for Dawson Knox to become something he hasn't become for a while now, because we know Josh Allen could turn
A Pro Bowl tight end.
Steven, hold on a damn second. We know that Dawson Knox could turn into some elite player, or we've been hoping he could turn into some elite player based on the mere ability of Josh Allen to overfeed and water a plant to the degree there are so many touchdowns to go around in Buffalo. He could sprinkle 10, 12 TDs over a tight end at any moment he wants and turn a mediocre tight end into a great tight end. You have an environment where you have no wide receiver too. Because as much as I like Gabe Davis last year, and I'll take a lap for over liking Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis has crapped the bed long enough. This team doesn't have a number 2 reliable option. Dalton Kincaid is the best pass catching tight end we've seen come out of college, and I don't know how long. He is the best pass catching tight end we've seen come out, Steven, and I don't know how long. Better than Kyle Pitts. He is a wide receiver. He's Cooper Kupp. He's a bigger version, or a different version, but a version of what Cooper Kupp is on the field, and he's playing the tight end position, getting mismatches that wide receivers aren't gifted. He's gifted mismatches. He's going to run routes like a wide receiver. He's going to confuse fantasy football worlds and have people complaining and moaning and crying to ESPN and writing facsimiles and sending faxes in and saying, this is Steven, and I don't believe you have this correct, because Dalton Kincaid is playing wide receiver, and Smitty in my league over here is starting him at a tight end. Can you explain to me why you haven't changed the positioning for him and screw him out of his amazing pick so that I can win my league, because I didn't prepare or see this man coming? Dawson Knox has nothing to do with him, Steven. Dawson Knox has nothing to do with Kincaid's value or his volume, as much as David Montgomery has 0 to do with Jahmyr Gibbs' workload divide. 0, Steven. Gibbs has nothing to do with Monty. They're practically playing different positions. Kincaid has nothing to do with Dawson Knox. Dawson Knox is blocking and getting Kincaid his coffee.
I completely and totally disagree with
that's
that.
Fine.
I think that everybody I think that you and a lot of the community look at Dalton Kincaid being drafted in the first round as, oh my goodness, it's a huge talent.
That's what we're doing.
I'll wait to see you on that.
That's what we're doing. We're not looking at Kincaid saying this is the best pass catching tight end to come out of college, and I don't know how long, better than Kyle Pitts. We're not looking at Kincaid saying not only that, he's not going to Atlanta, who we love for Bijan. We love for London. We like for Pitts. We don't love Atlanta for Kyle Pitts. That's why Kyle Pitts is always flirting outside the top 4 or 5 tight end rankings, because it's not the most ideal situation for him, and they have neglected to use him. They haven't neglected to throw to London. They haven't neglected to run the ball. People that say, oh, Bijan's in trouble because, look, they don't use fantasy football players. Look what they did to Kyle Pitts. That is compartmentalized to Kyle Pitts and Kyle Pitts alone. You're talking to me, Steven, about the best tight end prospect to come out of college, and I don't know how long. Him and Mayer are both amazing players. Like, if Mayer went to Buffalo, we'd probably be talking the same mess about Mayer. I'm telling you that right now. But Kincaid is even more special for that offense in that he can fill the voids that are currently there. There's no wide receiver 2, no reliable wide receiver 2. I do like Shakir. I do think Gabe Davis has talent, but this guy's better than both of them. This guy is a wide receiver that's playing the tight end position because someone accidentally forgot to tell him that he wasn't a wide receiver. He's been playing tight end ever since. And guess what, Steven? The counterpoint to your point is that not only is he one of the best wide receiver prospects to ever come out of college, Steven, he's going to the very best situation that a tight end could ever go to, aside from Travis
Dalton
Kelce.
Kincaid is one of the best wide receiver prospects to ever come out of college. That's what you just said. All right, we'll see.
Wide receiver?
Yeah, that's what you just said.
Did I say wide receiver? Did I say wide receiver or did I say tight end?
Receiver because you're going to
Did I
split him
say
out
wide?
wide.
Did I say wide receiver or did I say tight end? Let's go to the chat.
You said wide receiver.
Let's go to the chat. If I misspoke, let's see what the chat said. Did I say wide receiver? Did I say receiving tight ends? What did I say? Because you got me all riled up. I wouldn't be surprised if I just didn't even know what I said right now. So let's see.
It's good. You know what I mean?
Hold on.
You got to get your blood pressure up on
let's see if I misspoke because you've been putting let's see if I misspoke. Maybe I didn't, and I'll take a lap for that. But you've been putting words in my mouth the entire time. I did say wide receiver, says Dalton Kincaid, wide receiver. He's playing wide receiver. But that's probably what I was trying to when I was yelling at Steven.
What was the name of the tight end in New Orleans? The big redheaded dude. That's what you would want to compare Dalton Kincaid to being split out wide all the time. Jimmy Graham. If you could get Jimmy Graham out of Dalton Kincaid, that would be amazing. But
everyone's saying
in today's NFL, I don't know if I can see it or not. I just don't.
I don't know what I said, but because I got a mixed bag here. People are saying I said receiving tight end. People are saying you said wide receiver. People are saying you said pass catching tight end. People are saying you said a wide receiver playing tight end. You guys know what I'm saying. He's a wide receiver that's in the tight end position. I mean, how much more clear do I have to be? Because Steven's getting me all crazy and being absolutely insane about this, and he's not putting together that he's one of the best tight end, pass-catching tight ends to ever come out of college, and he's being paired with a top 4 quarterback in a top 4 offense. Like, what more do I have to spell out? How is this writing not on the wall for you, Steven? How is this a guy that you're saying?
I didn't say that it wasn't. I agreed with you when I said that I believe in dynasty. It is an excellent pick, but in redraft, no, I just don't see it.
Good. Tell everybody.
I just did.
Okay, good. Everybody listen to Steven. If you're in my leagues, please. James, you're live. Hold on, Steven.
Would you rather have Dalton Kincaid? You can get him in the last pick or whatever.
No, you can't, Steven. You don't. Hold on, Steven. You can't come in here and give him.
Would you rather have Dalton Kincaid or Dallas Goedert? Would you rather have Kincaid or Goddard in a redraft? Come on now. That just doesn't make any sense in a redraft.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense why you're even asking this question. You're not drafting Kincaid anywhere near Goddard, Steven. What are you talking about? You just one moment said you could get Kincaid last round. You can't get Kincaid the last round. And number 2, you're saying, who would I rather have, Goddard or Kincaid? You're not going to take Kincaid at that value. You're not. There's no question here.
Well, somebody else can take him and they can beat me. I don't give a damn.
Yeah, I know. But Steven, the whole point here is he's a player getting drafted well outside the top 10 tight ends. Well outside the top 10 tight ends. Okay, this is
so
a hook. This
over
is
there in Tennessee.
Chig is getting drafted at tight end 11 in double-digit rounds, Steven. This is the whole point of the video. What do you think I'm coming out here doing? What do you think this video is about? These are my exact top 5 tight ends. This is a how do you win a league, Steven. Steven.
I see him on the screen. I see Okonkwo, and I see Cole Kmet. Cole Kmet's a bust.
Okay, Steven, hold on. I'm going to James. James, you're live. James, you're live. Put yourself on mute, Steven. James, you're live.
All right. I'll be back.
Hey, Smitty, how's it going?
This guy's bad for my blood pressure. James, go ahead. And James, don't feel like you can't disagree. Steven somehow it's like putting bamboo under my fingernails. But go ahead. Go ahead.
A couple things. So I'm doing a dynasty startup, and we're doing a slow draft. And just wanted to kind of read off my team pretty quickly, just to see what you thought. I know you're gonna love it. I've actually followed your exact, draft strategy.
All right, hit me with it.
So far I have Bijan. I picked with the 1.4. I actually ended up trading up to the 2.1 and grabbed Garrett Wilson. I grabbed Chris Olave with the 3.4, and I grabbed Jahmyr Gibbs with the 4.7.
Damn. That's how you do it, bro.
So I'm pretty hyped. No, I don't have a 6th round pick this year because that's what I use to trade.
Who's your quarterback?
To get back up.
Who's your quarterback?
I don't have a quarterback yet.
Okay, so you just didn't.
I don't have a quarterback yet. We're in the 5th round, and I'm hoping nobody picks Trevor Lawrence because all the other top ones have gotten picked.
Is Fields gone? Fields gone?
Yeah, Fields got picked right before I picked Jahmyr Gibbs.
Bro. Hey, that's good. You get T. Law in the mix here. It's gonna be amazing. Best wide receiver. One second, real quick. Joe's saying best wide. Who cares what I accidentally? You know what I'm saying. I'm in the middle screaming at Steven. He's the best wide receiver prospect as a tight end that we've seen. You know what I'm trying to say, Smoking Joe. Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go, bro. Literally said 10,000 words.
So while we're talking about tight ends, my next pick after the 5th pick isn't going to be until the 7th round. Who would you recommend going for?
The 7th round? I mean, you just have to tell me who's available there, bro. You know, but like we're talking about here, the theme of Chig, if you can get Chig in like the 9 to 10 range, you know, and then get Kincaid after that, and you come in with this combination here, you might have trade value. You're going to have insane tight end value. Guys to pair with this combination, Dotson and Kadarius Toney and Isaiah Pacheco and Kamara and Charbonnet and T-Law and you know who the hell else knows who falls, you know, but that's a really good squad, bro. You know, I probably, if this is my team, I'd probably be adding, because you got 2 RBs, you got 2 wide receivers, you can go best player available, you know, every single time without a hesitation, because you're very balanced. You go T-Law when you can, and then you just swing in and you grab the Dotsons or the Tonys or even Kamara is interesting. You get Kendre Miller later. Pacheco, I love Pacheco with this build. That'd be fantastic. It's a good team. I like your team, bro. Like your team a lot.
Thank you.
All right,
I'm pretty excited.
Yeah, hang tight. The Patrick, you're live. You finally called in. What's up? Hello, the Patrick. Hello.
My bad, I'm here.
All right, go ahead. Complain a little more.
Oh, hold on. No. Because the Steven thing, I lost a lot of momentum.
Yeah.
The whole Steven thing, I lost a lot of momentum. And there's people in the chat, too, who be like, oh, what about Pitts? Oh, what about this guy? But I fully understand the parameters of your video. Outside of the top 10 tight ends who can, you know, be league winners down the stretch. My argument with Kincaid, like looking up doing research to argue with you, I kind of like taking it back a little bit.
So I figured.
And the reason why I say this, you're right about patience. That's what makes me worry about. I love to let Kincaid sit on my bench for 6 weeks, but I don't know. Do you really want 2 tight ends in the traditional redraft? Do you really want to have to draft 2 tight ends? But you're right. If he hits at some point this year, because I looked up some stuff. Let me just get right into this. Gabe Davis last year had 48 catches on 93 targets and 7 touchdowns.
Mm-hmm.
Dawson Knox had 49 catches on 71 targets for 587 yards and oh, shit, this is the year before. Excuse my language. I apologize.
Well, I mean,
2022 with 40.
You can use the year before. You can use the year before data. I mean, it still paints a picture about how potent the Buffalo Bill attack is and how
Right,
there's
and what
so
I'm
many
saying-
targets to go around.
And that was the big point that's kind of changed my tune a little bit, is that for 2 year stats for Dawson Knox, 65 and 71 catches, he's had 48 and 40 or 65 or 71 targets. He's had 48 or 49 catches those 2 years. And the only reason that Dawson Knox has been relevant is because 9 touchdowns 2 years ago and 6 touchdowns last year. That's the only reason. Otherwise, we're not even talking about Dawson Knox.
Let me also just explain something real quick on Kincaid. Like what Steven doesn't understand. Steven's seeing rookies, a rookie tight end. Rookie tight ends start off slow. I'm the one that told him that. I'm the one that comes out and tries to beat that drum over and over. And every year I tell you, be very patient with rookie tight ends to the point where don't expect anything their rookie year. That's why I identified Hawkinson as I was the highest on him according to Fantasy Pros. It's out there. Than anybody in the entire fantasy football industry his second year, because I knew what to expect. Everybody else thought he was going to blow up as a rookie tight end. He didn't. And everybody was disappointed and they walked away. Now, everyone's going to take that and think it's a blanket process that you can apply to every single situation. What that situation didn't have is Josh Allen. That situation didn't have a vacancy at the wide receiver 2 position. That situation didn't have a vacancy in an offense that can literally just, like I said, sprinkle 10 touchdowns for Dalton Kincaid as a rookie. Everyone needs to understand that this is not the normal rookie tight end situation. Even Laporta, as much as I love Laporta, he's in a good spot. You know, Jameson's out for 6 weeks. You know, the Marvin Jones, like there is an opportunity. He's still gonna be sporadic because he's a rookie. Okay, Kincaid. Not only is Kincaid gonna be sprinkled 7 to 10 touchdowns, and he's just gonna have to catch it. He is one of the best route running, pass catching tight ends to come out of college, and I don't know how long. When you couple these two situations together, talent and then the environment, and you say to yourself, this offense is absolutely high octane. Like just absolutely just you're going to trip and fall in 7 to 10 touchdowns and 800, 900 yards, especially when you're running routes, man. This isn't a guy that has to block it all. He's going to be on the field in the slot, mismatched. He's like a Cooper Kupp on the field, and he's going to be a mismatch for defenses, and he's running wide receiver routes, not tight end routes. He's running wide receiver routes. Does anybody think in this offense he's not going to find himself into an amazing opportunity with good hands? Like Gabe Davis doesn't have good hands. This guy's got great hands. He's elusive. He's dominating. He can dominate the jump ball situations. This guy's going to have mismatches for days. It's just, look, you got to have patience for it. You can't expect it week 1. It could happen in week 1, but you just can't expect it until we start seeing him pick it up, because it's not going to be the easiest thing for him to go out and be embedded into an offense that he's never been in before, and he's a rookie, so it's going to take some time. But he will not take the traditional rookie tight end path because of the same things I explained with Christian Watson. If Christian Watson didn't have Aaron Rodgers, he would have not done what he did, and we wouldn't really be talking about him. We wouldn't. If Christian Watson was not on the Green Bay Packers, we would not be talking about him anywhere near where we're talking about him today. He evolved and grew and matured on like fantasy steroids. This guy was just a machine by midseason, and he was making mistakes left and right all over the field. Aaron Rodgers was laying into him left and right. And that's the kind of feet to the fire. Dalton Kincaid is going to learn trial by fire, feet to the fire, thrown to the wolves. And it just might take a lot of time, meaning 3-4 weeks, whatever, before we see what we know we're going to get, the rest of the season. That's all I'm saying. Be patient with them.
And here's the thing that's changing my tune a little bit too, is I was disappointed by Gabe Davis last year, but I didn't realize until looking it up how disappointing he really was when it came to proficiency. He barely surpassed 50% in proficiency, 48 catches on 93 targets. And Kincaid definitely has a chance to become the number 2 option. I also have some Marine buddies in New York, upstate New York, that are last year when Josh Allen got dinged up, they are really extremely worried about, like this guy can't, they want to establish a more traditional offense and more dump offs as to where, like, for instance, Gabe Davis still had almost 900 yards last year, but that's because they was gunslinging all the way down the field. They're trying to do what they did remember when the year that 2 years ago that Patrick Mahomes was like leading the league in turnovers through like the first 8 weeks because they was playing the cover 2, and then he started taking what he could do and was just killing them up the field for little 6-yard dump offs and stuff like that. That's what they're going to transition Josh Allen into, so he stops having to take off. Okay. And those targets are going to go to Kincaid.
So, like, this is what's funny to me, though, is like you came in hot, you came in disagreeing, and you weren't just disagreeing. You were like, this is not going to happen.
You said some crap, and I said you crap back, Smitty, and then I did my research, and I'm coming and talking about it. And I worry about it year one.
I do respect that you can walk it back publicly like that. I do give you credit for that, but this is just, it's just funny because now you're telling me it's like you're almost coming in, like calling in to try and, school everybody else on it real quick. You're like, these dump offs, you're saying it with such confidence now. These dump offs are all going to Kincaid. And it's like, bro, you just, like 4 minutes ago, we're like, Smitty, this is not it. He's not going to happen. I'm just laughing. That's all. I appreciate you coming in and making it right. But goodness gracious, bro, it is funny. You got to admit. But good job doing your research, and I give you props for changing your direction before you dialed in. Right here, hold on. Isaac says 2 questions. What's your opinion on Waller this season? I love Waller this season. He's an injury risk for sure, but in this New York Giants offense where I believe Danny Dimes will lean on him, and he will become the number 1 wide receiver for Danny Dimes. Even if it's just touchdowns and yardage combined, but maybe somebody yardage produces Waller. I mean, that could happen, but I think in general, he'll be the number 1 target, the go-to goal line guy. It's all about staying healthy, and he takes care of his body. Hopefully, I know he's a little older. People don't realize how old Waller is. He's had a late start in his career, but I love him at his ADP. His ADP is like near, I don't know what. Let me pull up the Underdog ADP on this and check it out to be sure, but it's bargain territory, bro. It's like, it's insane. It's nearly, you put him on this list in this video type of value, but because he's going to touch higher than top 10, he couldn't crack the list. He's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. He's tight end 7. He's 7. Ingram is 8. And those are 2 of the best back end of the top 10 tight end values that are in the game. So love him, especially with the Barkley news. I don't know that changes anything. Barkley's going to show up. I know everyone's saying, how does the Barkley news affect this? How does the Barkley news affect that? Like, the Barkley news is like fresh, let the dust settle. He's not going to, I don't think he's sitting out the year. It just doesn't make any sense for a guy that's got his head on straight that can't do anything about his contract number now. And so it's like, do you bank on yourself to go get the bag next year, or do you tank your career and then walk into next offseason without anything to show for it? And people are like, I'm not going to give you a deal. You sat out the entire year. I don't know what kind of health you're going to be in. You're going to get hurt. So no, I think he's smarter than that. I think he's mad, let the dust settle. He's going to prove a little point for a couple days, and then he's going to say, you know what? It is what it is, like he said, his own words, and he's going to come to work and ball out. And maybe the Giants do some adjusted 1-year adjusted contract assessment, which can be done. It's just never talked about because it rarely ever happens, especially with the Barkley news. Where is Taysom's value in redraft? I'd say, well outside double-digit rounds. I would say he's your backup tight end. You're never going to take Taysom Hill as your number 1 tight end. You're not supposed to take Dalton Kincaid as your number 1 tight end, but, stand alone. You've got to draft a Cole Kmet, an Okonkwo. I think Okonkwo and Kincaid together are the 2 best combination you could get, because I think both of them have the most ability to be a top 5 tight end. So you get the option. And to the Patrick's point, or whoever brought it up, do you want to hold 2 tight ends? I mean, it depends on your league. If your league has, the room for it, I've done it before. If you've got very small benches where you got like 6 players on the bench, then maybe you can't, but you could at least monitor Kincaid, and he probably won't be drafted, but you better be damn sure you get him before any kind of news breaks. You better be certain if your league allows you to make drops during, in weird ways like Yahoo, I could start a guy, the game starts, I could drop him and then pick up Kincaid who played later, and you can play that game. Or drop a kicker or something like that. Not a different player, but I don't know what player I just said drop. My mind's all over the place on this. Okay. So thank you, Isaac, for that super chat. Tyreek Hill is best wide receiver in football. Take him 1.4, says Avi. I don't blame you for loving him, but I certainly don't think I would take him at 4. I'd take Bijan at 4 without hesitation. Any thoughts on Darnell Washington? I like him a lot. I think an injury has to happen for Darnell Washington to get in there and become like super consistent, especially given what we just talked about. Rookie tight ends are not consistent. They never have been. They probably, at least for now, until the position evolves into all Dalton Kincaids, it's not going to be very, very consistent to rookie year. The tight end picks up the position a lot slower than wide receivers or running backs or quarterbacks. But in the situation of Kincaid, you have crazy circumstances of volume and throwing him to the wolves and an opening at the wide receiver 2 spot, which he's going to literally play wide receiver a lot of the time. And so you're going to see him evolve quicker, and you can't use him as an example of, the past. And even Laporta's going to look good and bad as he learns to play the tight end position at the NFL level. But Kincaid's going to be thrown out there, like I said, in the slot, all that. Chances Gibbs is running back 1 and Fields is QB 1. I got both. I mean, the odds of both those happening are small, but I think Gibbs has a shot to be top 5. I think Fields is a shot to be 1. I'd say Fields is in my top 5 lock, with about a 20-30% chance of being the number 1 quarterback at the end of the year, depending on your scoring. I think Gibbs has a shot. Sure, I mean, he could be the running back 1, but he could be Eckler. He could be Eckler right away. I think he has a real strong shot at being a top 5 running back. I think he's more, you want to safely put him at 5 to 10, but I think he certainly has the ability to be a top 5. But I don't know if I'd say 1 across the board for both of those. That is definitely a tall order. All right, hold on to Patrick. Let's go over. James, have you talked yet? James, hello.
Sorry, I was on mute. Yeah, I talked.
Okay, hang tight, James. I'll come back to you though. So if you want to ask another question, Frankie 2.0, then D Philly, then Scuba. So let's go to Frankie 2.0.
Hey, Smitty, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, my man?
Hey, I was going to let you know that I'm doing the Mostif, the Underdog, the $1,000 league, and I'm doing the slow draft. And I'm only in we're already picked my 5th pick, and so I have the 101. I got Justin Jefferson, got Mahomes. He came back to me and landed to me on the 24th pick there on the 23rd, and then I wrapped around with Mark Andrews. And then I got DJ Moore, and also got Joe Mixon fell to me, and he's already going mid-4th round. He fell to me all the way to the back end, and so I picked him up on the turn going back on the 5th.
Joe Mixon in what round?
On the 5th, on the turn.
I don't like Joe Mixon. I don't like him at all this year, man. I think he was Walker available.
Walker was available, and that was the guy I was looking at. I'm not going to lie. And I know I'm a big Walker fan just like you, but I was like mixing just the volume, being the only running back there, and the protection too. They're not going to put any guy on the 3rd down protection. This guy's going to probably play every down. He's going to be this year. I think Joe Mixon's going to do everything for them because they're going to have to protect Joe Burrow. They're not going to put Chase Brown and all those guys back there.
Don't take offenses, Frankie, but this is like what I've been preaching lately. And bro, I could be wrong. Like I'm not going to be right about. I'm going to be in my best year I ever have. I'm going to be right on 75% of what comes out of my mouth because I'm saying a lot. So like always trust your gut. Okay. So if you like Mixon, stay with it. But what I love about Joe Mixon taking this pay cut and staying in Cincinnati is that he's moving up the board and he's moving Kenneth Walker down. I want Kenneth Walker and Charbonnet is so easy to get in cuff if you're smart about where you reach for him. It's
For
Walker
sure.
and Charbonnet over Mixon by 100,000 miles. Kenneth Walker has no business being behind Mixon. He has no business being in the late 4th round or especially the top of 5. He has really no business being in the 3rd round. And for whatever reason, everyone's so petrified of the Charbonnet situation, which is only a safety net, and it's a safety net that could win you a league too. Bro, my jaw drops when people call, and no offense, people call and say, I took Joe Mixon, and I go, was Walker available? And they're like, yeah. I'm like, what is going on? Like, this guy was, our community especially was like, this guy might be the number 1 running back. We're in January and February. He might be the number 1 running back next year. I got him in my top 5. And then the ADPs dropped, and we're like, oh my God, Walker's not a first rounder. Walker's going to 14 overall. Walker wasn't even in the 1st round. We were scratching our heads and just smiling and singing Kumbaya. And we're drafting Walker over and over and over at 14, 15, 16, 17 in the 2nd round, just looking at it like it's the steal of the century. And then all of a sudden, Zach Charbonnet gets drafted, who we love. And I mean, I can't stress enough how much I think he could be a top 5 to 10 running back all in his own right. But that doesn't mean he replaces the other top 5 to 10 running back that is already there. Like, it's just unfortunate there are 2 top 5 to 10 running backs on the roster in one sense, but in the other sense, like, Pete Carroll's not going to just roll both of them out equally. Pete Carroll called up Zach Charbonnet and said, how are you doing? We're taking you, comma, not even end of sentence. He said, comma, you're going to have to play special teams. So this could be one of those things where he goes out and gets no carries in week 1 and Walker has 110 yards and 2 touchdowns. And what do you think the fantasy football world is going to do? They're going to explode. Like, I could be wrong. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe Walker gets hurt. Maybe Walker looks horrible in week 1 and Charbonnet comes in and explodes. Even then, I'm not mad because, bro, and you can maybe still get Charbonnet standalone. I don't know if your draft is still going on, did you say? Make sure you get him.
This is a slow draft.
I mean, get him standalone. Get him standalone, so this advice applies to you too. But if you have Walker, Charbonnet, instead of Mixon alone, let's say, and Walker does fail, and I'm wrong about Walker, I'm going to be right about Charbonnet. Like, it's going to be fine. And you can get the best of both worlds if you do believe in Mixon, but I'm not going near Mixon anywhere near that value. Like, it was just interesting how you worded it. Like, and Mixon fell. I'm like, Mixon fell to where? Where? I don't think Mixon in the 4 or 5 territory is a steal. I'd rather have Pacheco and McKinnon over Mixon, personally. But Mixon just looked like he fell off to me. He had that big 4 touchdown game, really skewed his stats, and I hate to take away and play that game. If you take away this game, that was his game. He earned it. He got those points. I get it. But the fact that he looked so bad in conjunction with having 4 touchdowns or whatever, was it 4 or 5 in one game and having this blow-up game?
It was 5.
Yeah, it was like 5 touchdowns in one game. I don't know, bro. And you said there's no other player on the roster. What about Chase Brown? Like, he's been a big sleeper of ours all offseason. He lands in a pretty crafty situation, if you ask me. And they wanted Mixon to take a pay cut enough to where they were willing to let him go. I think you're right. The pass protection could keep his job safe at first, for sure. But if he gets banged up because he's older, he's had a lot of mileage, man. This guy Mixon's been waiting for the Bengals to be good for a long time. And he's been hitting 8-man front, putting the team on his back. They've been garbage for a while. And then all of a sudden, they become good and he's almost done, So we'll see what happens, bro. I appreciate you, and I don't want you to take that the wrong way, and I'm just trying to help you. But if you believe in Mixon, don't listen to me on it and trust your gut, because like I said, I could be wrong on this one.
Well, I'm going to pick up Charbonnet. That is something that I'm looking to do in the around the 19th round where he's going and handcuff him. But I'm going to hit those receivers pretty hard coming up with Kadarius Toney and then stack him with Sky Moore as well, because I got Mahomes, so for sure. But thank you for the input, man. I appreciate it.
Hang tight if you want to ask another question or you want to jump in.
All
again,
right.
Trust your gut, bro. Trust your gut. D Philly and then Scuba.
Hey, Smitty, what's going on, buddy?
What's up, D Philly?
Hey, I sent you a picture of my last draft I just did a little bit ago, and everything you're talking about is kind of with that draft. Can you look at it for a quick second? It's on your WhatsApp.
Oh, the text line? Okay, let me look for it real quick.
Look at the whole picture. Okay. I love this team. I want your opinion.
Okay. You didn't send it. You just
I'm
sent
number 9.
You sent me the draft board, right?
Yeah,
Okay.
but I'm number 9.
All right, pick number 9. You got Bijan, Jalen Waddle, Jahmyr Gibbs, Christian Watson, Kenneth Walker. Amazing. JSN, Jameson Williams, Zach Charbonnet, Geno Goff. I would have loved to see you get a better quarterback than Geno or Goff.
Well, I was going for the stacks.
Yeah, but yeah, I get that. But I wouldn't force a stack just to get
And then look down.
Yeah, okay, hold on. Jared, let's see. Okonkwo, I like Okonkwo. That's great. Okonkwo, you got in round 10. That's exactly where he goes. Tank Bigsby, Dalton Kincaid, nice job. I like it, bro.
Kincaid in the 13th.
Yeah, very, very good. I mean, Goff and Geno will be serviceable for you for sure. I mean, they could have good years, but I see Anthony Richardson was there and you passed on him. I see Aaron Rodgers was available and you passed on him. I like Jordan Love, who was still available. Just in the next draft, mix up the quarterback spot a little bit. Like if you had drafted Aaron Rodgers and one of those guys, then I would have really, really, really loved it a little bit more. Like the quarterback, Geno Smith and Goff. Like I'm just not huge on that, but I love everything else you did. Like this is a fantastic team, and those guys will be serviceable. But
Ken Walker at 57.
Bro, they don't know what they're doing with Kenneth Walker. I don't understand it. It's so easy to see coming, in my opinion. Like Kenneth Walker was elite, and just because another elite player that we identified as elite landed on the roster doesn't take away the other guy's ability to be elite. And we've seen Chubb and Kareem Hunt survive. We've seen no one's discrediting or devaluing Aaron Jones year after year, and he's got AJ Dillon sitting there vulturing touchdowns or the threat of it every year. I just don't get how he goes from a top 1 to 5 running back to a guy that's now in the 50s. And I called this, and it's going to continue to happen. The Mixon retention. Taking a pay cut and staying in Cincinnati is the best thing that ever happened to Kenneth Walker. And also Henry climbing into round 2 is going to be the best thing that's happened to Jahmyr Gibbs and other players that we love so much. And the only thing we got to hope is that Barkley doesn't fall too low, even though that's a great value. I'd just scoop him up if he did. I guess that would be good. But I really want these RBs that are climbing that I don't love this year, like Henry, because of the mileage. I'm not taking him at 2.1 or 2.2 or 2.4. I liked him in the 3rd round, given that it packaged in some missed time. Hold on, we got a $20 hauler from Overcome. Overcome, drop a fire on screen right now. My man, Overcome, the man, the myth, the legend, the $20 hauler machine.
Alert, super chat alert.
$20 super chat.
Overcome dropping a $20 watt on screen. He says, need help with how to manage drafting with mid-round picks. Yeah, that's a good. Let me write this down and make sure I create a video on this so you guys have a video on this. Mid-round. We'll do early round, and late. We'll do a video on all 3. Maybe I'll mark those videos into like 1 through 3 or 4, 5 through 8, and then 9+. I'll do a video on who are the best values in those blocks of rounds or something like that. Overcome, appreciate your support. You are the man. Thank you so much. I got some other super chats real quick, and then I'm going to go over to Scuba. Isaac, appreciate your double super chats. Avi, your 2 double super chats. Melvin, Smitty, do you know if Pacheco got hurt? Pacheco. So I've seen a little bit of that. Let me pull up some news real quick on this and look at it. I don't know what the extent of what people are saying on this. I had to go to the car dealership just a little while ago. So I was.
And because of the surgery he had, he just had surgery like a month ago.
Yeah, but I mean, someone said that earlier, and I'm like, I haven't seen anything. I don't see that he got hurt, like at practice or something.
They put him on some list where They put him on some list where they can take him off.
Yeah, the PUP? No, yeah, I mean, look.
Yep.
Look, that's something that they might be doing right now, just to keep as many people on roster to try and, cycle through some of the players they want to try and decide on. I wouldn't be concerned about that. He had the shoulder surgery, he had the hand surgery, he fully expects to be healthy. I was wondering when someone said that if something actually happened to him today, and I was like, I was at the car dealership and I had to take care of some things, and I'm like, okay. And I came back and I didn't see anything on it, but I didn't hear anything. And I've got a lot of feelers out there, so I was like, what in the hell is someone talking about? But yeah, that's not. I wouldn't worry about that yet. We'll take that as it comes. Not to mention, if you're drafting Pacheco, you have to get McKinnon. You have to get McKinnon. There's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. McKinnon and Pacheco are a must. And you kind of got to monitor Prince, the rookie, as well, and CEH. And it's kind of one of those positions. It's a little volatile. Thank you, Melvin, for the super chat. It's volatile, but it's potent. And it's very valuable. It's not a running back room that everybody wants to be a part of because it's volatile. Dynasty startup rankings coming soon. Dynasty startup rankings. You mean in video format? We'll be doing a lot of stuff on the Dynasty channel for sure. In video format, maybe. I mean, the fantasyfootballshow.com is year-round fantasy football rankings and predictions. The fantasyfootballshow.com has got all the rankings you need right here. The video courses, the trade calculator, the bold predictions, the text advice. All the articles are here, sortable by position and team and upside and downside and player and recent, recent on the carousel here and recent right here. You can sort through all that, but rankings for sure are always updated and everything on the fantasyfootballshow.com. But yeah, we'll be doing some sort of dynasty rankings video. Don't worry about that. We'll do a redraft one as well here on the channel. We'll break down, even if I don't do the rankings, I'll maybe do the ADP and tell you where I think guys should be moving in your mind and taking advantage of when you're on the clock or whatever. Thank you, Sick Nasty, for dropping that super chat. Thank you, Overcome, for your super chat. Thank you all for dropping that so far. Let's go over to Scuba. Scuba, what's up, my guy?
Hey, Smitty, what's going on, my man? I have a question for you.
Yeah.
I want to talk about a not-so-sexy name, Antonio Gibson. He was saying that he's excited to play in the slot with Eric Bieniemy and Eric Bieniemy's offense. He's excited about lining up as a wide receiver. I know that he's not named, going off of, his ADP and, how he's definitely burned a lot of people, that he's not really somebody that a lot of people want to dive into. But I guess, if he does, play in the slot, I guess, what's his value going to be? Is that somebody that you're interested in? Or do you just want to stay away from him just in general?
Depends on the value. I mean, the thing that's nice about Antonio Gibson that makes me believe that maybe there is hope here is that it's a new coach or a new offensive coordinator coming in to utilize him. And, because if it wasn't Bieniemy coming in and it was just the same regime, all in all, I would just be like, we're hearing coach speak, that we've already seen them pretend they want to use him and not use him properly. And the fact that Bieniemy's coming in and going, okay, I could use this guy like McKinnon or something, that makes me excited enough to be like, okay, I want some shares or one share somewhere. But how high am I going to take him? I don't know. His ADP, looking at the underdog ADP, his ADP is around, let me see, running back Antonio Gibson. He is going on underdog ADP. He's going at 98 overall. So Zach Charbonnet is one running back spot below him. Kamara is right above him. Javante's above him. Pacheco's 4 or 5 spots above him. Swift is 10 or 11 or 12 spots above him. I think that's okay value. I can't fault anybody for taking Gibson over James Cook or A.J. Dillon or Samaje Perine, although I think Perine's going to be pretty decent for a while, but he's kind of not a full season type of guy that's going to help you, because Javonte, I think, does come back and play well eventually. But Charbonnet, I'm taking over Gibson. Kamara, I'm taking over Gibson. Javonte, Pacheco, I'm taking over Gibson. But he's slotted about right because all the players below him, aside from Charbonnet, they're all very, very Rashad Penny, I'd take Gibson over Penny. Brian Robinson, I mean, same team, so there's your dilemma. I guess I'd probably take Gibson over Penny because of the PPR value. Khalil Herbert is below all those guys, and I'd rather have Khalil Herbert. McKinnon's below all those guys. I'd rather have McKinnon. When I say those guys, I mean Penny, Brian Robinson, Damian Harris. So give me Khalil Herbert, who is so far below him. Like, I mean, we're talking about, let's see, Gibson, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 running back spots. Khalil Herbert's 8 running back spots below Gibson, and McKinnon's 10. That's probably equates to about 15 to 20 total ADP spots, like 2 rounds. I want those guys over Gibson.
No, I'm the same way. I mean, especially Khalil Herbert. He's definitely somebody that I like. And if he just stays at that ADP, man, I mean, I'm definitely somebody that I'm interested in taking. But like I said, I was just curious about that Gibson news. I mean, because there's always those couple like PPR guys that like nobody really wants. But I mean, like they're just like some guys that they end up like putting up like some type of like points, I guess. So I mean, that's why I want to ask you about that.
All right, hey, hang tight for me real quick. I'll come back to you in 1 second. I'm gonna hit these. I'm gonna hit these voicemails real quickly. If you guys want to leave daily voicemails, we're gonna start getting into this more often. Please go to my Instagram, The Fantasy Football Show. It's in the description of the video. And once you get to my Instagram, you're going to click on that subscribe button for $4.99 a month. You can literally drop voicemails daily, which I will play on air, hold down the microphone inside the chat, record my answer, and then you'll also hear it all on the show as well. But you don't have to go hunting for it if you missed the show because I'm putting it right in here. Here's Mason's question.
Hey, Smitty, just got offered a trade here. I got offered Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Swift for Drake London in a Superflex Dynasty League. And I have very little running back depth with very deep wide receiver depth. So let me know what you think. Thanks, brother.
So he said, I got to hear that trade one more time.
Hey, Smitty, just got offered a trade here.
It was London.
I got offered Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Swift for Drake London in a Superflex Dynasty League.
So that's a tough one. That's a tough one. Let me first of all, this trade is tough to break down because I'm gonna hit the record button and respond to him so he can get it. So let me do that. This is a tough trade to break down because I mean Swift has potentially amazing, value for the now and potentially for a couple of years in Philly, and Ridley, he's got maybe 1 to 2 to 3 years left. London's just getting going. So like I want to say give me London overall. And you said you have wide receiver depth. So tough to know without knowing all the players. Maybe I do need some more information in here. He said, is that enough information? But in general, I would say, if you believe you can win a bunch of money this year and you can win that cash money, I don't mind this Ridley Swift approach because I think Ridley probably will outscore London this year. And it does give you the long-term value in Swift and some decent long-term value for two or so years in Ridley. I'm okay with the move if you need RBs that much. But in general, like in a startup sense, I'm probably going to say I'd rather have London, but with all the depth you're talking about, but you have depth at wide receiver, so I guess I'd have to hear more about your running back stable. So maybe leave me a message with who you got at RB, and then we'll go from there. Appreciate that, Mason. Mason, I don't know if you're watching right now, but leave me a voicemail with your entire team. I'm sorry earlier I said I didn't need more information, but going through that question, I definitely do. Okay, let's go back over. If anybody else wants to become a part of the voicemail crew, again, just going over to the Fantasy Football Show on Instagram and join up. Who else is on the phone line that hasn't spoke yet? We've got James D. Philly. Scared. I'm here. Yeah, Scared Scott's here. Okay, Scared Scott, go ahead, and then we'll go back around the phone line.
Okay, Scared on the Kincaid take. He's being taken on underdog.
10.
Him and Okonkwo are it's 130.1 and 130.3, so virtually tied. Is that tight end 11, 12, which makes them tight end ones. Problem I have with Kincaid is I went back, I looked at the top 10 all-time rookie seasons.
You can't do that, though, Steven. It's not the same thing,
Well,
though.
I get that.
Okay, go ahead.
Here's what I'm focused on it. There's 3 of them since 2000 in the modern era. Shockey, Ingram, and
Pitts.
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 You know, they all Shockey ran 4.5. Pitts and Ingram run 4.4s. Kincaid only runs a 4.71. He broke his back. He runs a 4.71. He broke his back. And,
Yes, he did.
And there's a tight end already there that's getting paid a bunch of money. I know you say it's different. It's 2 different positions, but at the same token, at the same time, he's still there, and there's going to be, as you said, some touchdown work taken away from him, so forth. Those things, to me, are big red flags on him, no matter how good a pass catcher he is. It's going to take time
Agreed.
for him to adjust to spell, right?
Agreed. Well, both of you guys, par for the course. Tell everybody you know, first of all. I want you to tell everyone you know. We want as many people doubting Kincaid as possible, so please continue to spread the word. Number 2, you don't get taken where he got taken without checking out medically. So you want to bring up old injuries, you can bring up old injuries all you want, but Dalton Kincaid is, and especially when you talk about back, when you break bones in your back, it's like a small fracture. You're talking about a small fracture. Depends on where it is, what it is. That sounds a lot worse when you just say a blunt statement, broken back or what, he had a small fracture.
He did get a broken back, and I think he had another back injury when he was in college. I don't think it's just one. I think it's 2.
Well,
and look, you can research it. Anybody can look at it and see if I'm wrong.
It was just a compression, a small compression fracture. It wasn't. It was like he broke his spine. Okay. It's second of all, you don't think that got checked out. You don't think that the team feels comfortable with him at this point. Number two. Again, you can use history all you want to try and paint this picture, but sometimes you have to step out of the confines of what has historically happened and say, what is aligning here that is different than those other situations? And the alignment here is not only just the fact that there's an opening and a need for it. You talk about Dawson Knox. Again, Dawson Knox has 0% to do with it, Stephen. He doesn't have anything to do with it. They're not going to have Kincaid block. Your argument's moot. Knox has nothing to do with Dalton Kincaid. He is a blocking tight end that's going to run some delayed routes and catch touchdowns, but there's more than enough to go around. No touchdowns are being vultured in Buffalo, bro. Like Knox is not catching.
So if Dalton Kincaid in a redraft, how many touchdowns does he get, and how many yards does he have to have for him to be successful?
To be
1,000 yards and 4 touchdowns.
Like I said, you're not drafting him for week 1. You're drafting him hoping that you were going to be able to identify at what point to unleash him. Could it be midseason? Could it be in week 4? Could it be in week 5? Could it be week 1? You could put him on the bench in week 1 and start a guy like Cole Kmet, who you like, or not you, but I like, and then all of a sudden Kincaid has 100 yards and a touchdown in week 1. Keep in mind that T.J. Hawkinson had, I think, 100 yards and a touchdown or 2 his opening day in football. Like it's not crazy to think he could catch some quick slant and take it 80 yards downfield or something. How many yards will he have? I don't know. Hold on, Stephen. I'm answering your question. I don't know how many yards he's going to have. I know that he's going to at some point get on pace to be one of the top 5 tight ends in terms of, like, if you were to extrapolate data and look at it, he will get onto his horse at some time, and he could easily get, like I said, sprinkled 7, 8 touchdowns with ease in 2023 as a rookie. He could easily get 7 to 8 touchdowns just gifted to him. And still, let's say have a 700.
I don't see
well,
how
good,
that's
Stephen.
possible.
I'm glad you don't see it possible. That's why we have you here, so you can spread the word on that. I'm here to tell you it is possible. I'm here to tell you I very much see it happening. So I'm glad we disagree, and I want you to tell as many people as you can. And real quickly, let's go back because Steven, this is scared Scott's time. Go ahead, Scared Scott.
The 4.7140 doesn't bother you? There is the only tight end that I could find that's worth a damn in the NFL that runs anything like that is Komet.
You know what Jerry Rice's 40 time was? 4.71. 40 time is an accent.
Oh my God! We're comparing tight ends to Jerry Rice now.
No, who's comparing tight ends to Jerry Rice?
God.
Who's comparing tight ends to Jerry Rice? Who's comparing tight ends?
Who's
comparing tight ends to Jerry Rice? Are you putting words in my mouth yet again, Steven? Put another word in my mouth in your no show for you for 2 weeks. Put another word in my mouth and I'll hang up on you right now. No show for you for 2 weeks. Who compared Jerry Rice to tight ends? I said, did Jerry Rice run a 4.71? You're talking about speed being a problem. I'm just saying speed. What did Anquan Bolden run? Anquan Bolden's 40 time was, I think, let me find it so I'm not wrong on it. Anquan Bolden's 40 time, 4.71. Same thing as Jerry Rice's 40 time, 4.71. Let's stop acting like Dalton Kincaid is out there for his speed. He's out there for his finesse. He's out there to dominate jump ball situations. He's a Cooper Kupp at the tight end position. And Dalton Kincaid, you keep talking about how you believe he's not good. Well, guess what? The rest of the world, the scouts everywhere that coined this the best best tight end rookie class that's ever come out of college. He's leading it. Part of the reason he's the number one tight end, part of the reason this is the top tight end class to ever come out of college is because of this man's in it. So what are you talking about? Scouts everywhere have already anointed him one of the best tight end prospects to come out of college. So what are we talking about here? You're telling me his 40 times scares you, Scared Scott? Good. Think he's not going to get quicker at the NFL level? Good.
Look, Smitty, I'm sorry. I got your blood pressure.
You don't have to be sorry, Steven. I told you to tell everybody.
Get it straight down and check both arms because that blood pressure is getting a little high.
You don't have to be sorry. I want you to tell everybody. That's what you can do. Tell everyone. You see.
Hey,
Smitty. Another tight end are big red flags to draft him as a tight end one.
Oh.
In the first round, you take a tight end.
Draft him in double-digit rounds. Is absolutely
Kincaid
crazy.
would have been there in the third round. Nobody was going to draft
Scared
Kincaid.
Scared Scott.
Yeah,
you're not listening.
Whoa, who said that?
Not in the first round. They weren't.
Who?
Excuse me?
I thought it was insane. I thought it was insane if Buffalo took Kincaid with the first
Everybody
pick.
going into the draft had Mayer and Kincaid going like it was a toss-up. They was going back and forth. In fact, I saw mock drafts from.
I would have taken any other good right tackle, a center, anything other than a tight end in the first round.
You just argue without no backup. Without no backup, you're just like disagreeing with people.
Scared Scotty, 6'4", 240 pounds.
I don't know about all that. I'm just trying to make a point that the defense plays a part in it too.
You're making a very bad point.
All right, it's a bad point. I'll tell you, I'll just let you guys handle everything, and I'll shut the hell up and just listen.
But I don't know who said that, making my next point. So I don't know if it was James or whatever. But yeah, you're talking about a 4.72. What was this? 4.72. The dude is 6'4", 240 to 245 pounds. Like you're looking at a number and you're trying to say, oh, he doesn't run a quick 40. Like he is coined as the Patrick said, one of the best tight ends to come out in a long, long time. And this is the number one tight end class for a reason. And scouts have been drooling over this tight end class. And Scared Scott's here to tell us that the red flags are too great to grab him in double-digit rounds. And if you watch the beginning of the video, I literally said, don't draft him to start him in week 1. That's the part that's driving me nuts, Steven. You and Scared Scott both. I literally said over and over, you draft Okonkwo and Kincaid together. Komet and Kincaid together. You
can't. They're too close.
What do you mean you can't? They're in the double-digit rounds, bro.
But
I got one in the 11th and one in the 13th.
Bro,
I haven't. That hasn't happened. I haven't seen that happen. That's a rarity. Congratulations.
Because you're on ESPN.
They're pretty much going the same round every draft that I've been in, or within.
Then take a different player. Like Then take Kincaid and then take Kincaid and another tight end that you also like that you can use in week 1. Scared Scott. There is some. You got to do some of the work yourself. I can't go digging just because I told you I would take Okonkwo and Kincaid. I can't go digging into your league and finding what tight end you need to draft. You need to do some of your own work. Show the Moon Man list again, please. Hold on, I got to show the Moon Man list for Young.
The Moon Man, dropping loads in outer space.
I'm glad you put Komet in this, because if you run the numbers once Fields started moving last year and pushing himself into that elite territory, Komet was the number 5 tight end the rest of the way.
Well, that's why I got him on the list, Steven. But if you would listen to these other two, you'd be headed to the moon. Nothing can stop what Kincaid is about to do, says Anthony. Appreciate you, Anthony, for the super chat. Anthony's right. Anthony's dropping knowledge from the straight from the Fantasy Football Show College. Gibson will be benched for an entire quarter when he drops a pass or fumbles. Steven,
Anthony is a brown noser.
Both of you, can you hold on a second? Hold on. I'm in the middle of reading a super chat. Gibson will be benched for an entire quarter when he drops a pass or fumbles. Bieniemy has a high school coach mentality that sucks for real football and for fantasy, says Isaac. Isaac, appreciate your super chat. Thank you very much. And then let me see. Sick Nasty said Dynasty startup rankings. I got that one out of the way. Thank you for asking that question. Overcome, I appreciate your $20 hauler earlier. And I believe I'm caught up. No, there's one more super chat that just flew in from Thomas. He said Kincaid equals a unicorn. Absolutely.
He is a unicorn.
Well, you
can't say he's not.
He's obviously very, very good. I just think there's a lot of red flags to take him as your tight end.
Not in Buffalo, though.
No,
not in Buffalo.
I know.
I wanted to argue with Smitty. I came in hot. But when you look at the target share in Buffalo and how embarrassing Gabe Davis was last year,
he was.
Daggone, it kind of validates Kincaid. Not week 1, like he says, but bye week. When's their bye week? Because after I don't know, it's like an unwritten rule that the rookies always seem to get more looks after the bye week.
Week 13 bye week for Buffalo.
Yeah.
All right. Well, he'll be in there before week 13.
I mean, he'll be in there early. It's just a matter of when does he take over the wide receiver duties? To an extreme degree. He'll play tight end. I'm not saying he won't play tight end, but he'll play all over the field. But they brought him in to catch passes. They didn't necessarily bring him in to play tight end. I'm telling you that right now. That's why Knox is still there. Knox is a blocking tight end who, in this offense, to the Patrick's point, there's so many targets to go around. And Ron said this before, and I agree with it more now. Knox could still be viable. Like, he could still catch 6 touchdowns, and it won't take a single touchdown away from Kincaid because it's an unrelated, scenario. But
hey, Smitty, can I ask a question?
Yeah, go ahead.
With Joe Mixon restructuring his contract, and with as efficient as we figure that the Bengals offense would be, is he being undervalued?
Joe Mixon is trash.
I swear, and I don't expect you to watch.
Is trash.
I don't expect you to watch every
he
waking.
Is trash.
I don't expect you to watch every waking minute of the show, Steven, but I literally just went over this. I mean, look, to the point of whoever brought it up earlier, the pass protection is going to be important, and that will probably keep his job right away, right? You're not going to just all of a sudden take Mixon out of the lineup. They also restructured him to keep him. But we saw a massive drop-off. The mileage is through the roof, and injury risk is going to be higher every moment he steps on the field. And Chase Brown's pretty darn good. So we'll have to see what happens. But Mixon definitely showed drop-off. And so the restructuring.
1,200 yards
Steven,
rushing.
I'm in the middle of
12
speak.
touchdowns.
You know what?
Finish him. Call terminated.
When?
You can call back in 2 minutes, Steven, when I can finish my point. Mixon is in a situation. What, Scott?
Why does he get only 2 minutes and I get 5?
Oh, here, I'll give you.
Finish him. Call terminated.
Okay, so Scott, you got 3 minutes in timeout. I just hung up on you because you had to interrupt me about when I said I just hung up on Steven because he interrupted me over and over. So now you're both gone. Now you can call back when you're ready. 3 minutes for Scott, 2 minutes for Steven. Actually, Steven, you get 3 minutes.
Smitty, he walked to the car dealership today
Yeah.
because he messed up with the cat, and so messing up with the cat cost you having to get a new car. And so Smitty was at the car dealership today, and yeah, he's going to hang up on you quick today.
Yeah, it was hot out walking. I live really close to the car dealership, and so I had to go. I didn't get a new car, but I had to go get something worked on, and so I took it down there, and usually I run, but my calf's torn, so I walked. It was in the heat, and I just don't have patience for Steven and Scared Scott right now. My whole point was this, and then I'll go to Ron Navy. Mixon, there was a lot of drop off there. They wanted to contemplate going in a different direction if he wasn't going to take a pay cut. And you don't ask someone to take a pay cut unless you think that maybe they're not where they used to be or they aren't replaceable. You know, you don't just walk up to a player that doesn't deserve a pay cut and you say, take a pay cut. You know what I mean? Like, does anybody really think they walked up to Joe Mixon and they said, hey, you know, we love what you're doing. And you actually had your best year ever. We're really worried about, you know, losing you. And we're going to ask you out of everybody here, could you take a pay cut? So, like, there's concern there for sure. Go ahead, Ron Navy.
Yeah, well, you know, I hear Patrick's on here, so, you know, and he said, he said that what's his name didn't have a good year last year on Buffalo. What?
You talking about Knox? Or you talking about Gabe Davis? You talking about
Gabe Davis? Yeah.
Davis.
Gabe Davis. But what a lot of people aren't realizing, he was battling ankle injury all year long last year. So of course he didn't have that great year like he had before. So this year it's a little. We'll see. We might see a different Gabe Davis, but they also got Secure there, and they also got some other guys there that could get opportunities. But, yeah, I think that they're going to use Kincaid as more of a wide receiver than a tight end, especially Knox more as a blocking tight end, and they'll use Kincaid more as a slot. I think in out of these guys that you're talking about, like especially Hill and Kmet. I understand Hill's the cheat code and all that other stuff, and Kmet, we'll see. I mean, you know, I don't think he's terrible, but I think the one guy that we're not mentioning here that is a rookie that I think could smash it this year also is Laporta. And Laporta is going to get a lot of great opportunities there in Detroit, especially since Jameson's out at 6 games, and Laporta's going to be. He was so smooth in the combine. I'm big on Laporta this year. So not to take away from Kincaid or anything else, or Okonkwo. I mean, I agree with Smitty as far as his takes on those two players, but I think you got to throw Laporta in the conversation. I think
Yeah,
he
for
deserves
sure.
it.
For sure. I know a lot of people were like, I'm really surprised Dulcich didn't make it. Like, I can only put so many in here, and we're talking about deep diving into the double-digit rounds, So if we talk about, we can't put in some tight ends that are inside the top 10. This is all outside of the top 10. Because every year, a top 5 tight end is born that was drafted outside the top 10. It just happens, even if it rotates out or doesn't. And so Okonkwo is the most glaring, and these numbers right here are just absolutely staggering. Giving a number 2 overall tight end receiving grade in the National Football League last year, to be number 1 in yards per route run, to be number 1 in yards per reception, to be number 2 in yak yards per reception, to be number 2 in targets per route run. Those are all the major categories, and he was either 1 or 2. And I just, so that one's clear as day. So Okonkwo is like the simple, easy, and I don't understand why people don't see it coming to the degree he's still number 11 in the tight end rankings. But these are more stabs in the dark, sure. I just think that we're going to look at Kincaid and Laporta. I like a lot, and he's definitely. And we talked about him earlier in this show when we got into it. But he definitely feels like he's going to be in a slight lesser environment, but not a bad one. He's also got Jameson Williams out for 6 weeks. There's a unique little spot for him there that's going to potentially throw him to the wolves as well. I think Kincaid gets thrown to the wolves more. I think his feet will be to the fire more, and I think he can progress a little bit quicker. I think Laporta is going to have big games and some okay games. Big games, he'll do kind of
Musgrave more than any of them.
Yeah,
they don't have any other option. The only other option they have is another rookie tight end. So Musgrave is going to be
I like Musgrave a lot. He's big too.
Thrown right into the fire.
He's big too. But I do
I really like Musgrave.
But I do believe that because those guys are in slightly different situations, even though Detroit's going to be potent and entertaining, they are a run heavy team and that does pass the ball well. But it's one of those things where I do believe that Green Bay, who I think is going to have a good offense, more so than people believe. I think Detroit's going to be amazing. The Buffalo Bills the Buffalo Bills' potent offense is just a whole nother level, and so that's why I think that while I like Laporta, the vacancy for the targets is there. The offense is just on another level because they don't run the ball; they just throw, and the touchdown volume is so high for Josh Allen.
Absolutely ridiculous.
The touchdown volume is so high, literally. It doesn't matter how many touchdowns Dawson Knox gets. You could always say, well, if St. Brown got – and I'm not saying I don't love Laporta. I'm just saying the reason why Laporta didn't make the list. And he could have made the list over Taysom. Like, I could have easily done that. But in terms of Dalton Kincaid versus Laporta, it's just the touchdown volume is like literally like Josh Allen could just sprinkle 7-8 touchdowns on him, just not even trying. And it wouldn't affect anything.
This is the first time I've seen Swaggy and Ty Lee in the chat at the same time. And I haven't seen Ty in a while, but you need to check out the comments there, Smitty, with Ty Lee.
What's he saying? Oh, come on. Okonkwo don't want to be on the guy, but I'm not drafting him, and nobody should. That's ridiculous. Okay. Ty Lee's the same guy that isn't he the one that said that there's some film on Joe Burrow that if people saw the film that his career would be over? We're still waiting for that footage. Ty Lee, hey, there's some footage on Joe Burrow. If anybody caught wind of it, his career would be over. And he's not talking about like some like off the field video. He's talking about like game film. Ty Lee says there's game film floating around on Joe Burrow that if it gets out, his career is over. Because what was it? A high school team? Ty Lee, call in. It was a high school team that figured it out or something like that. I forget the whole backstory, but it's like my high school defensive back coach was watching film on Joe Burrow and he figured something out. And if the video footage gets released, Ty Lee says, Joe Burrow's done. He's absolutely done for.
I got to apologize to Swaggy because I always thought Ty Lee, because you never seen him in the same chat at the same time.
Yeah, it still could be.
And Swaggy always disagrees. Ty Lee sounded almost the same, and I thought they were the same person.
He could have an iPad open.
So I'm sorry.
He could have an iPad open to run. That's not that hard. Bad O-line meant something for Mixon last season, right? Bengals signed Orlando Brown. Yeah, I mean, improved offensive line will certainly help the run game for sure. But yeah, I don't mind Mixon, but I don't like that Mixon's climbing. Like Mixon was very much a doubted guy, and now that he restructures and stays, he climbs up ADP boards. And my beef isn't with Mixon as much as it's with Mixon going now ahead of Kenneth Walker. Like the caller earlier said, who was that called in? Was it James or no? Was it D Philly? D Philly. He's on the line right now. Was it D Philly? No, it wasn't D Philly. D Philly got Walker in his draft. I forget who it was that was on the line, but he said that, Mixon fell to him. Like he was saying that like it was a gift. He's like, Mixon fell to me in the 5th. Couldn't believe, so he's saying basically he's a 4th rounder. Yeah, it was a James. And I have no problem with you liking him. I don't like Mixon, but that just goes to show. It wasn't you?
No.
Okay. It just goes to show.
Mixon's crap. Everybody remembers that 4-touchdown game, and they think, oh, Mixon, he can go off for 4 touchdowns in one game, which he did once, and he was trashed the rest of the year. And
it was 5, but who's counting?
Yeah, it was 5.
Very potent Cincinnati offense, and he didn't perform. And so, yeah, I look at maybe not start now, and plus you don't know what off the field stuff is going to come up with him. You just have no idea. He's kind of like, you got the red flags like Tony does. You don't know when some of these players are going to go off, or Diggs. You don't know when they're going to freaking just, have an AB moment.
Thank you, Dan, the Grim
Bengals
Reaper.
I don't mean to cut anybody off, but the Bengals as an organization stood behind Mixon. So I think the off the field issue, other than that, he's been stellar. So I don't think we can look into that too much.
Well, I think Mixon's had the mileage to where we're worried about drop off, and he didn't look efficient last year. He didn't look the part. Yeah.
Right. Samaje Perine came in and was
Looked
like,
great.
God, why can't Mixon do this?
So that's.
I was talking more about like Ron's little partial comment about off the field.
Well, hey, you know what? I mean, look, he had a shooting at his house. And I know they say he wasn't there. But you know what I'm saying? Like, this is awfully weird that he's brandishing a weapon in a road rage incident, which the charges ended up not being filed, and then they said that the alleged victim, could refile them, and they did, and so the charges were then actually filed. And then, not too long after that, there was a shooting at his house. And I'm just saying, and then you look back to the situation in college. All I'm saying is that this team was like probably thinking to themselves, we took a chance on him when we drafted him to stay out of trouble, and now there are 2 situations, one of which he probably wasn't there. They're saying, but I don't know, bro. Like, I think that's something. I think it's something that there's an open case on him pulling out a weapon during a road rage incident. I mean, what if you did that? You think your employer's going to, your job's going to be all that safe when they find out you're out there in road rage situations? I mean, we'd all be in cuffs if that happened. I don't even know how that happened and nothing ended up coming from it. Like, how does that even happen? How do you brandish a weapon in a road rage incident? And then you just get off. I don't know how that happened. I don't even know the details on it, though, because it doesn't seem like we're being provided the details. But how about the T-Law Ingram stack? I love that stack. I think Ingram. The only concern for Ingram, and everybody brings it up, and they're correct in being concerned, is like, he does go through these like streaks of doing well and then getting hurt, and he gets a new contract and he gets hurt, or whatever. So we'll have to see what happens. But I do love Ingram. I think Ridley, I'm starting to really get on the Ridley train. I'm starting to really, really ramp up my Ridley belief right now. I'm waiting for Mason to drop his update, but I'm really starting to think Ridley, he looks so quick out there. I don't know if anybody's watched the workout videos right now, but he looks so fast right now. And we all forget that this was a guy that had the potential to be the number one fantasy football wide receiver. I don't know if anybody can reflect that far back, because 2 years is a long time. But there was a moment in time where he was being whispered about being top 1 to 5, and there was an opportunity for him to be the number one. And he's getting T-Law. T-Law is, in our eyes, I think most of us agree, a top 6 quarterback. Like, he's getting one of the best quarterbacks he could get. He's not in some, Mickey Mouse system. He's there, ready to absorb targets, and I'm getting really excited about Ridley. I don't want to put all my eggs in one basket, because I really got burned on Ridley, and I'm a little bit fearful of that. I'm like scared Scott in a way in that regard, but I do feel like my interest in Ridley's growing extremely fast.
The problem is all the hype with Ridley is pushing his ADP so high, and it's hard to take him in his ADP without actually seeing him on the field, other than just working out.
Yeah. We got Ty Lee. Ty Lee's got an update for us on the Joe Burrow situation. Ty Lee, we're still waiting for this footage that you told us. You promised us this footage was coming out.
Ty Lee, I have 15 years of scouting experience, good relationship with high school coaches who lock down Burrow, and have NFL scouts asking for film all the time.
But yet all year long last year you were asking for that video, and he never produced it.
Nothing's better than when someone comes to you with a high school coaches. I have 15 years of scouting experience, good relationships with high school coaches who locked down Burrow in high school. He didn't learn a thing in college. In high school, they locked him down in 2 games. Joe Burrow had a game where he got locked down in high school. Therefore, he can never improve. He didn't get better. I bet Tom Brady got locked down in high school a time or two. You know what I mean? Oh, man. If this footage gets out, Ty Lee, I don't know what I'm going to do. I got a lot invested in Joe Burrow. This brand I got here is tied 25% to Joe Burrow. Locked down in high school. As if you could just take high school footage, come straight to the pros. You know what? Go look at Josh Allen. Like, if you go to Josh Allen's Instagram, it's crazy how young Josh Allen is. And you scroll through Josh Allen's IG, and it's like he's in the pros, right? He's in the pros. Then he's a sophomore, and then you go, he's a rookie, and he kind of looks like a baby. And then you go like a couple more scrolls on his IG, and all of a sudden, dude's in a prom suit, and he looks like this little kid. And it's like it was weird just looking at Josh Allen's Instagram. I'm like, this is not too long ago that this guy could barely drive a car. And Tylee's reflecting back to that moment when Josh Allen, you couldn't even recognize Josh Allen. He looked like a baby. And all of a sudden you're reflecting on Joe Burrow's lockdown game in high school where he got locked down by a bunch of cornerbacks. Ty Lee.
The Chiefs are 1-3, I do believe, against Burrow.
That was for Atlanta. No bragging. Couldn't send film for free. But if anyone watched the AFC Championship game, that was a sneak peek. The Chiefs have the formula now, guys. So watch the calendar schedule. Okay, we'll be on it, Ty Lee. This guy. Oh. I haven't heard the high school card get played in a long time. This guy's not in college. Going back to high school. Back in high school, Joe Burrow slipped on a banana peel and lost his balance. He's got bad balance. Back in high school, he fell down. He fell down walking to the cafeteria and the PE twice. You hit him in the right spot, he'll go down like a lopsided dresser. Oh, Ty Lee. Wow. Let's go over to James again. James, what else you got?
I had a question while we're talking about tight ends. What do you think of Dalton Schultz this year?
Disappointed me. And maybe I'm a little biased toward that experience, and I'm letting it shift and shape it. But I think it's a good opportunity. I think, there's a lot of ability to be a reliable target in Houston. But I'm not like 100% on board that train. I'd much rather go down the Kincaid Komet, Okonkwo Kincaid, Okonkwo Komet. And the beautiful part about this video is that these guys are all double-digit guys. So to Scott's point or whoever, like, oh, you can't draft Kincaid to be your, number 11 or 12 means he's a, first he's a tight end 1, a low tight end 1. No, I mean, I'm drafting Okonkwo and Kincaid together over and over and over again. This is the staple here. The whole point of the video, why I did a whole 10-minute, 12-minute presentation at the beginning and focus much more on this than anything else, was that this is kind of the staple of it all. And you can cuff them to any one of these if you want, but think of this as the entry point. And yes, drafting him as tight end 11 can win you a league because I think he could be top 5. I mean, what more do I have to do than to bring up last year's stats and show that he was number 1 and number 2? He beat Travis Kelce out in 2 of these 3 categories. So, I mean, I know we need more of a sample, but 32 receptions, 450, and 3 TDs is small, but it is enough of a sample with the target share to be like, look, they designed runs for him. They used Okonkwo as a running back. They had designed running back plays for Chig Okonkwo. They actually ran the ball with him. They had designed receiving plays for him. They had designed running plays for him. They had designed plays like all over. And so that's why I say, like, you look at Deebo Samuel when Jimmy G was in San Francisco, there were so many dedicated design plays for Deebo that Deebo, nothing else mattered. It didn't matter who was on the roster. It didn't matter if they brought in another player. Like, Deebo had dedicated routes and volume just like baked into the game. And I think that Okonkwo is very similar. And they want a big name tight end there in Tennessee. And they've got one. And Hopkins is only going to stretch the field and make it a lot easier to find this guy. And if Tannehill does, let's say, drop off a little, or he's dropping off, or he's not going to return to his former A.J. Brown, 2000 whatever self, then guess who's going to be even more of a safety net for him? Okonkwo. So, or if the rookie comes in, who's going to be the safety net? Okonkwo. So I think Okonkwo with the design plays is going to have a lot of volume that just can't be taken away. And I'd rather have him than anybody outside the top 10. So you got to cuff. You got to cuff. It's a must. Ty Lee hasn't called in yet. We're still waiting. He's not giving it away for free.
You know what I'm thinking, Smitty? Is like, we're all big, but this might be the year. This might very well could be the year of the tight ends. And see, like, a lot of these tight ends go off this year.
For sure.
Look at the Chargers, right? They got their tight end. I mean, he started out so strong last year, and then, injuries happened and stuff like that. But I think that there are so many good tight ends out there right now that you see it be the year of the tight end.
Not only that, like, we've had 3. I mean, we took Kyle Pitts off, not because I don't love his talent or skill set, but there's a lot of things that got to happen in Atlanta for all 3 of Pitts and London and Bijan to do what I believe London and Bijan will for sure do. And there's the injury risk and the usage. When people say that Atlanta doesn't like fantasy football, and they use that comment to say stay away from Bijan and stay away from London, they didn't pay attention, because the only negative, we don't like fantasy football mentality that everybody says that Atlanta has, it relates to Kyle Pitts. It doesn't relate to London, who was getting fed by Ritter and was on a 1,300-yard plus pace for his 5-6 games that he played at the end of the year. Algier was a top 5 or 6 running back in almost most every category the final 5 or 6 weeks of the season, give or take, scoring and all that. And the fact that this offense is one of the best running attacks in the National Football League. I mean, just look at these numbers right here when we pull up. Where is this at? Here it is right here. Look at these numbers. I mean, Atlanta was number 1 in attempts. Atlanta was number 3 in rushing yards. Atlanta was number 4 in yards per carry. Atlanta was they were top 10 in touchdowns. They were top 10 in 20-plus yard runs. They were number 4 in 40-plus yard runs. Atlanta was arguably the number 1 rushing attack in the National Football League, the number 1 rushing attack between the tackles. And so, back on point, I was trying to say that Kyle Pitts I removed from the Moon Man list, and I put him on the Satellite Man list, and I still have him there. But my whole point was the Moon Man list has had 3 tight ends on the board this year. Like, if I didn't take Kyle Pitts on, we'd have Kincaid, Okonkwo, and Kyle Pitts. So, to your point, this is a year that feels very, very tight end friendly. And no pun intended. And pause. We'll pause on that one.
Yeah, if you think about it, I mean, if you think about a team that's anti-fantasy football, I would say more of New England and Belichick. Because how often do we not want to draft New England running backs and stuff like that? Because Belichick just, once somebody starts heating up and going, he goes to somebody else. And then they heat up and go, and he's just constantly moving things around. You can never – he holds all the injuries. You don't know anything with him. So New England's probably the most anti-fantasy football, and maybe not on purpose, but they mess with your head because – you don't know to the last minute whether a player's starting, whether they're going to be in, whether they're going to be out. You don't know how Belichick's going to use the personnel. And it's just like it drives you nuts as a fantasy player trying to figure out what New England's going to do.
Yeah. I think also this changing the guard that I always speak of, which, by the way, I told everyone you're going to start hearing that phrase being used. A lot of people watch this show. They say they don't. I have a lot of people that DM me all the time and say, Smitty, they're doing what you're doing over here. Smitty, they're copying you here. Smitty, they're copying. Yeah, you'll hear a lot of analysts start using the term changing of the guard, which we've been saying here. No one else has been using that term. Changing of the guard is happening across all positions. It's already happened at the quarterback position fully. I mean, look at the top 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks. I mean, even if you include Lamar, he's not a spring chicken, but he's still very young. Lamar's the old dog of this crew. You've got Josh Allen, Mahomes in no particular order, Jalen Hurts, Joe Burrow, Justin Fields, Trevor Lawrence, Lamar Jackson. Like literally the top 6, 7, 8 quarterbacks you could say are all here for a decade plus going forward. They're all young dogs. Herbert as well. They're all young. They're all young dogs. They're all top 8, top 9. And the same thing's happening at the wide receiver position. We still got a couple lingering in Cooper Kupp and Tyreek Hill and such, but we have the entire sophomore wide receiver class just absorbing a lot of the top 10. You've got the running back stable completely getting flipped upside down right now, and the changing of the guard happening with Bijan and Gibbs and Walker and Breece Hall, and then you're gonna have Barkley's in the middle. He's still young enough, but in a year or two, he'll be more on the other side of safe. And so it's all happening. The tight end position, as soon as Kelsey does drop off, it's going to be, a lot of the young guys. And everyone said the tight end position is so weak last year and, it's going to remain weak. No, it's looking very replenished. And it's going to be interesting what happens in a year and a half, 2 years from now. Because Kelsey's going to have that moment where it happens. And I know we all don't want to talk about it. And I know it's like taboo to be like, oh, this is his last great year. Everyone says, I'll just bank on him until he falls off. And I get that. But at some point, Kelsey's body, there's just no way he can do it for 3-4 more years. Could he do it for 1 more year? Yes. Could he do it for 2 more years? Maybe. And I don't know how I feel yet. I want to get to next year before I make that call. I'm not saying I'm out on him next year. I'm just saying give me 1 year at a time with Travis Kelce because his mileage is crazy. If
you remember, God, now I can't remember his name, and that's crazy. The old wide receiver in Kansas City. You know who I'm talking about.
Tyreek Hill?
The one in the Hall of Fame. The one in the Hall of Fame. Ended up his career.
Wait. Let me back up to what we're talking about here.
I mean, he had longevity.
Tony Gonzalez.
Too.
You're talking about tight end, though.
Yeah.
You said receiver. Okay. Like,
No,
what are
he's
you talking
on
about?
it. Yeah.
Tony Gonzalez,
Gonzalez.
tight end. Yeah. Okay, go ahead.
Yep. He had longevity like Kelsey's having. He played for a long time and he played effectively. Even in his final year, he was effective. So, yeah, you just
Greg
never
Olson.
know.
I mean, Jimmy Graham is a good. Jimmy Graham's a
He
good.
ended up,
Yeah.
was the last couple of years.
Yeah, I think Kelsey. I mean, Kelsey takes care of himself. He's got Mahomes. He's got the offense. He's got the play calling. He's got the potent system and situation. So, like, even if he drops off a little, you might not even notice. And so it's more about, does he get injured? You know what I mean? Like, more so with Kelsey. I don't know that. I agree with you. I don't know that we see him like just start looking like he's running in mud, because his system is crazy. But like, will he get hurt? Will his body eventually break down? Because he takes a beating. You know, the tight end position is not kind to the body. And so I could see him just like missing.
He survived better than Gronk. Gronk survived.
Yeah. Gronk is reckless. Gronk and Kittle, those guys were not built to save their body.
Needs. You know, because they don't like Kelsey. Kelsey beats them all the time. So what are you going to do as a player? You're going to go after the needs.
Kittle's definitely said his career won't be like ultra long in so many words, you know, because he is 110% every time. If you watch Kittle play, he'll catch a pass, get hung up, and someone will grab his leg, and instead of just going down, he'll literally just try hopping, get hit by 2, 3, 4 other guys. Kittle has said that he plays too aggressively, that he could see himself having to retire earlier than he would want. But Kittle, Gronk, those guys are abusive. Kelsey's like crafty. He's crafty, and he's also, like I said, in such a potent system. A lot of the plays end up, and I'd love to know how many, because I'm spitballing here, but a lot of plays end up upright. You know, he's in the end zone. So, like, I don't know. It's just a little different. So it's hard to say, but I do believe at some point his body will give out. I just don't know. It's definitely not going to be on my mind this year, but I think we got to take it year by year after this year, and then, you know, maybe we're fine next year with it. But real quickly, let me go over to Dakota Dave, and then Dakota Dave, you haven't talked yet. What's up, pal?
Yeah, hey Smitty, I was wondering what you think about potential point differential between Kelsey and Okonkwo. Because that, dictates whether it's worthwhile to, take Kelsey in, say, mid-first round.
I always think you can win 100,000 million ways, so there's no answer that can really justify that. Like, if you draft Travis Kelsey, thank you, James. James dropped off the line. James, I appreciate you calling in, pal. If you got another question, call back in and I'll go right to you so you can ask again if you had something you wanted to ask. But there's no answer that like is right or wrong on this. If you draft Kelsey and you know what it really comes down to, Dakota, is how deep is the running back and wide receiver pool? How rich is the 3rd, 4th, and 5th round? Because if you're drafting in a year where the running backs and wide receivers dry up, like the dead zone last year, which does not exist this year, by the way. When you're drafting last year, it was harder. It was harder sometimes to assemble a team you loved with a Kelsey in round 1 type of draft. This year, I've never felt more comfortable taking Kelsey in round 1 than I ever have. Like, I've never felt more comfortable because Walker and Gibbs and Burrow and London and Watson and all these Pachecos, and I literally feel like it doesn't affect it at all, and that's really what makes me draft Kelsey this year more than ever. And so to answer your question, I equally love it. I love drafting Kelsey in round 1 in Best Ball Underdog Fantasy, and tonight we'll be drafting. So if you guys want to draft with us tonight, hit that link in the live chat that I've pinned, and it's in the description of every video. If you're watching a replay of the video or you missed the pinned link, you can go to the description of any video I have, and I have the Underdog link, or just use promo code Smitty. But we'll be drafting tonight. I don't hesitate to take Travis Kelsey in round 1. And I'll tell you, man, sometimes I got Kelsey and I still draft Okonkwo, because in Best Ball, you got that rotational, optimal scoring. And if Kelsey has a bad game and Okonkwo goes nuts, I mean, you're going to dominate everybody in tight end scoring. So don't think one way is bad and one way is good. Just go best player available, and if Kelsey's the best player available, then that's a league where you don't necessarily need Okonkwo, although you could still take him. And then if best player available dictates you go Bijan or Chase or JJ or whatever, then guess what? Okonkwo is your path at tight end. But don't think there's ever an answer up front. You got to go with the flow of the draft. You can't decide something like that before you're on the clock. You know what I mean?
Right, I gotcha. But like I'm saying, point differential that's why people love Kelsey, right? Because he's just his fantasy points per game or full season is just so far ahead.
Yeah.
Of 2 through 5.
So what you're describing is called X factor, or in some ways you could look at it as an X factor explanation. But an X factor is an old school way to look at fantasy football, and I'm dating myself here. We're talking about like in the Kurt Warner, Randy Moss, and Culpepper days. X factor was huge in fantasy, and I did it professionally then too. I've been in the business that long. X factor was where you would say, okay, how many wide receivers are you starting in your league? 3 mandatory wide receivers. Okay, 3 mandatory wide receivers in a 12-man league means that there are 36 starting wide receivers in your league, okay? X factor means what is Randy Moss outscoring the 36 wide receivers? So if you looked at previous year's data and you say Randy Moss scored, 450 points or whatever, and then you looked at wide receiver 36 and he scored like 100 and let's just say he scored 100, then the X factor for Randy Moss is 350. He outscores the last viable starter, according to last year's data, by 350 points. So that is his X factor. And then you look at the other positions and you say, okay, what about running back? You start 2 RBs, and so that equals 24 starting running backs. What is, Tomlinson back in the day? Tomlinson, his X factor was something along the lines of like 250, let's say. Well, Randy Moss was crushing Tomlinson in terms of outscoring the last startable player at their position. Therefore, Randy Moss deserved to be the number 1 overall pick by a mile. By a mile. And if you look at Kelsey, his X factor is through the roof in terms of that as well. And that's why he goes in the first round. And I think even subconsciously people know this, right? Oh, I got to do the cat. Good Lord. Hold on. Ron Navy, where were you? Hold on.
I brought the cat up earlier. You should have remembered
I know.
then when I mentioned the cat.
All right, hey guys, I'll be back in 1 second. I gotta go do the cat. I just got an alert that Miss Smitty pulled in the driveway, the motion sensors, and I gotta get out there.
Good. Just stop talking and go do it. We got it. I was about to ask him about the cat too, but I did earlier. I mentioned the cat earlier. Oh my God.
Hey, Navy. Ron.
Yeah.
Yeah. How are you?
What's up, fellas? What's up, fellas? Okay, so we made it back in a record time, 2 minutes and 20 seconds to give the cat his injection. That is the new record. I'm only a couple minutes late, so that one wasn't bad. It's not like it was 7 o'clock like last time. So it was five minutes late. So 2:20 is the new record. I'm practically becoming a veterinarian. All right, what were we talking about?
I did earlier, Smitty, so that should have been your reminder.
Yeah.
We were talking about X Factor.
Yeah. Oh, so X Factor. So what I was saying on this X Factor, it's a really interesting way to look at stuff, and you subconsciously do it anyway. You know, that's why people say Kelsey's such an advantage at his position. Well, here's the real way to look at it is, okay, so like I said, 3 wide receivers you start, that's 36 wide receivers. Randy Moss used to outscore wide receiver 36, the last viable starter, by 350 to 250, whatever it was. And so it made him the number 1 overall pick. So Kelsey has probably the highest X factor in the National Football League comparatively. But to answer the question of was it D. Philly or whoever asked the question, that you know, does Okonkwo deserve to be your option, or should you always be going Kelsey? And I think the question remains, do you believe Okonkwo can be a top 5 tight end? Because if, let's say, he does have that Darren Waller season, Darren Waller, his breakout year where I had him higher ranked than anybody in the entire industry, according to Fantasy Pros, if you drafted him that year, so if Okonkwo becomes that guy, you end up having such a huge advantage given that now you can draft, let's say, Bijan. And Bijan has a similar effect on the running backs or whatever player, Christian McCaffrey, or maybe you think Tyreek Hill is going to have a similar effect on the wide receiver, you know, X factor or whatever. And if you get that Okonkwo to play as a top 5 tight end and you didn't spend a single dollar on, you know, that guy investment wise, he's practically free in the double-digit rounds in a way, then you're gonna have a different, you know, sum total. Your X factor advantage is gonna be, you know, through the roof still. So it really just depends on if Okonkwo hits. If Okonkwo pulls in, you know, instead of 450, he gets 650, and he gets 5 TDs, and he has 48 receptions, then no, you know, drafting Kelsey was probably the better move. But you might not want to draft Kelsey at number 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 overall. You know, maybe you don't. You know, if he falls to like 6 or 7 overall, it's a pretty good move to make. You know, or even at 4 or 5 in best ball and underdog fantasy tonight, we might do this. Use code Smitty. Use the link pinned in the live chat. Use the link that's in the description of every video. Make sure you sign up now, or you won't get in time, because you need to have that app and be ready to go. And I'm going to give you instructions of when to jump into the draft. So you got to be prepared. But like I take him all the time. I take him probably 1 out of every 8 drafts. I take Travis Kelce in round 1. And sometimes I do it over Bijan because I want a little variance. But Bijan in general, like if I'm pushed to my limit, like if I only have 1 draft, Bijan's my 3, 2, or 1 overall pick. But I do love having Travis Kelce in Mahomes teams. I've done that a lot in underdog. I do it every 1 out of 10, 1 out of 8 times maybe. So good question though, and there's just no real way to answer it because it depends on what you do with these other picks. You know what I mean? Like Okonkwo as a top 5 tight end can win you a league if you crush and take advantage of the ability to not have to draft Kelsey in round 1. If you miss out on your first rounder, if you take a guy that gets hurt, then you didn't have any sort of advantage from doing it. You know what I mean? So you just got to. It's about hitting everything. You got to hit everything anyway. You know, whatever way you look at it, you got to hit. You got to land.
Hey, Smitty.
Yeah.
If you got Bijan and Brees, do you still take Walker in the 5th or no?
Bijan and Brees, do I still take Walker in the 5th? I don't stray away from it, bro. If it's the best player available, absolutely. If I have no wide receivers and I've got a quarterback and a tight end, and I'm going 3 running backs and I still have yet drafted a wide receiver, it makes it a little hard to balance. But I mean, have I done it before? Yeah, I've done it before.
I got Devontae.
Yeah, I mean, then you're fine. I mean, you don't have to worry about drafting 3 RBs. There's nothing wrong with drafting
Burrow?
3 RBs.
I got Burrow, Devontae, and then them 3 running backs.
Yeah.
Bijan and Kenneth Walker.
Can I tell you that some of my best feeling teams, honestly, are teams where I'm going so light wide receiver shopping that I think most people would say there's no way that team's going to win. There's no way that team's going to win. And I look at it and I say to myself, if I land the wide receivers I believe in, this team's going to have such a big advantage because of me going heavy running back, because of me going Bijan, Gibbs, Walker, and then having, let's say I go Jamar Chase in round 1, and I go let's say I go Jamar Chase in round 1. Let's say in round 2, actually let's use Bijan. So Bijan in the middle of round 1. Let's say I get lucky and I get St. Brown or Garrett Wilson. Sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. In grandma leagues, you definitely can. But you get a wide receiver like that. So that's your one wide receiver. So you go, let's just call it St. Brown. St. Brown in round 2, Bijan in round 1. Let me write it on the board here. And then in round 3, so you get this right here. You go Bijan here. Let's just say you get St. Brown and you get lucky. He doesn't always fall, but he has. And then in round 3, you end up going Gibbs early. And you go Walker. Let's say you go, because Walker's falling now. Let's say you go Walker here. And let's say you went Burrow here. So I have one wide receiver. My favorite teams I have so far this year are similar to this, where I have 3 RBs. I have Bijan, Gibbs, Walker. I've got the quarterback that I want, whether it's Fields or Burrow, and I've got the one wide receiver. And then I get Dotson, Tony, Pickens, and I just scoop up as many of those guys as I can, and I love it. I don't care if people think my wide receivers look weak. I love when people come in and say, Smitty, those wide receivers. Like, what do you expect? It comes at a cost. You got to have guys you believe in, but guys that might in general look weak to other people when you look at a wide receiver room, because you're getting this stacked approach that your running backs, no one's saying, oh, those running backs. No one's saying that. If you come into somebody's team, you walk up to someone's team and you say, ooh, those wide receivers look bad. At least have the decency to give the appropriate reaction to their RBs, their quarterback, and everything else. But this right here is some of my best building.
Who do you like besides Tony and Dotson? Who do you take first in the 6th round?
I like Dotson more than Tony. Dotson's, absolute maniac. And I think he could be the number 1 there in Washington this year. I think he could be a top 12 wide receiver. I love Tony. He's got more risk, but I like grabbing both of them. I really push for Tony when I've got Mahomes and Kelsey, and then I push for Pacheco, and that's in best ball, though. I love grabbing the entire KC stack.
That's what I'm talking. I'm talking in best ball.
Yeah, best ball. Yeah, best ball. I mean, look, Kadarius Toney. If you couple him with Sky Moore, whose word came out today that he's going to be the lead slot guy, probably. That's really good. You could get Sky Moore and you could get Toney together if you want pretty easily. I've been drafting Jahan Dotson and Curtis Samuel together pretty easily, and that kind of solidifies one of your wide receiver spots. So if you do go cheap wide receiver shopping and you get 3 wide receivers and that's pretty much it for a while, and you're going really dry with your bench, I think Curtis Samuel's a fantastic 4th wide receiver to couple with one of your guys, Jahan Dotson. I think it's a really, really smart move. It's like a sidecar cuff, we call it. Just putting them right on the sidecar. I just picture in the sidecar, I picture Jahan Dotson driving, and then just, Curtis Samuel just hooked right to him, and they're just driving down the street together. But yeah, I mean, bro, there's strategies galore. No strategy is better than the other. Some of it's about your implementation. When people say you should go robust RB, who in the hell is going to tell somebody else to do something they may not be good at doing? What if you aren't good at late wide receiver shopping? Whatever's your skill set, bro, if you think, oh, I'm really good at landing wide receivers, then go early RB. If best player available dictates it. But don't let anybody else dictate what you're doing because it worked for them. Especially drafting Kelsey early, you got to be good at drafting a tight end early because there's a lot of complications that come with it. This year is just a lot easier to do it.
I'm at 7. Do I take Tony or Pacheco? 10 seconds.
Tony. I don't know.
Okay.
I mean, I love them both.
I got him.
I think you might have a better chance of getting Pacheco next round is why I said that. I love them both.
Yeah, he's 10 down and I'm 13 away, so I don't think that's happening.
Well, but he's more likely. I think Tony was a lot higher, right?
Tony was actually, I got him 4 picks after he was supposed to go.
Right. So that's why I said that, is I think you might land them both now. You couldn't get them both if you went Pacheco. Okay.
So I got Devon. All right.
Go ahead. Read off your team real quick.
Huh?
Yeah, go ahead and read your team off real quick.
Burrow, Bijan, Brees Hall, Kenneth Walker, Devonta Smith, Jahan Dotson, and Kadarius Toney.
I like it. Good job, bro. Okay, let's real quickly, D. Philly, any other thoughts before I kick you off the line here, because I gotta go because I'm coming back for drafts, so I gotta go eat and all that. Anything else, D. Philly?
I just want to apologize to Steven. I was a little hard on him earlier on his take on Kincaid, but I don't think he knows much about him, so I wouldn't come into the chat and spew information. First of all, he didn't understand what you were saying.
I know.
You weren't saying to take him as a wide receiver. You weren't saying to take him as your number one. You were just saying in the 10th through 14th round, if you can grab him as your second tight end and use him towards the end of the season, he is going to turn it up.
I tried to explain it to him the best way I could. Steven, if you're here, you can call in one more time. If Scared Scott's out there, you can call in one more time. You guys know I appreciate you. It's not all theater. I really do get aggravated and irritated and hang up on them. It's not theater, but I do appreciate them. Like, there is no bad blood, and I think they're good for the show. I really do believe they're good for the show. They're kind of my Baba Booey and like Beetlejuice of the show. If you watch the Howard Stern show, if anybody's ever watched the Howard Stern show, it's like those are kind of they're kind of the characters. You know what I mean? Like, you got to have a Beetlejuice, you got to have a Baba Booey. You got to have a Stuttering John. You got to have all those guys that can come in, and those guys fill their role very, very well. So hats off to Steven. Let's give Steven and Scared Scott a standing ovation, a mashed potato, because, they take a little bit. They're like George Kittle. They take a beating at the position.
They got thick skin, though.
They got thick skin, but they take a beating, so we're going to give them a mashed potato. This is for Scared Scott and Steven. All right, D. Philly, we'll see you later. The Patrick, final thoughts?
Have a good one, D. Phil.
I have no statistical data to back this up, but somebody that I really like in the same parameters that you set. I absolutely love Jelani Woods. Even with a rookie quarterback, if anything that helps me, I think that's going to be his little safety valve. I love Jelani Woods.
Yeah. Who doesn't? He's a big tree out there.
Yep.
It's like 6
Jelani
foot.
Woods is awesome.
6'7", like tree. It's like two trees, two big palm trees out there on the field that are just going to be like handing the ball to each other over everybody.
Yeah, I think he's 6'9", not 6'7".
No, I don't think he's 6'9". I
think he is.
No, let me look. I'll take a lap if he is, but I think he's 6'7".
I think the tallest tight end is that backup for the Chargers.
Yeah, he's 6'7".
What's his name? Parham.
He's 6'7", Ron. Yeah, he's 6'7". But yeah, that's right. I think Darnell Washington's 6'6", 6'7". He's a little touch shorter than Jelani, but they're really, really close. So that's why.
You know why I thought that? Because D. Philly was just on here. D. Philly's 6'9". He's a beast.
D. He's mixing up the caller and Jelani Woods.
Well, yeah, because D. Philly, he's a tall guy. He looks like a tight end.
Oh, that's it. I was thinking of the caller. God. All right, the Patrick. We'll see you later.
All right, man.
Ron, you need your steak. You need to go get Dakota. Final thoughts, Dakota.
That is it. Thanks, man.
All right, Dakota, call in tonight. We'll be drafting live. Ron Navy, final thoughts.
Yeah, just no steak tonight. I had steak last night. I sent you a picture. Didn't it look good?
What are you having tonight? Lobster? What is it?
No. Tonight's Wagyu burger.
Oh, okay. All right, Ron. Appreciate you. We'll see you tonight drafting later. We got Melvin dropping a super chat. What? Let's see here. 14 team PPR. Which way to go? What like a strategy? What strategy for a 14-team PPR? Which way to go? I mean, I would say, Melvin, the best approach is always best player available. But in the end, I need to know your draft slot. In the end, I need to know the flow of the draft. In the end, I need to know the lineup. Is it going to be running back hungry? But if you take best player available within reason, you know what I mean? Like if all things are equal, you'll want to lean some positions, you know, if you're in trouble at one versus another. But in general, I think you can walk away. If you walk away with balance, like a running back, wide receiver, or wide receiver, running back, it will put you in a position to where you're not afraid to go best player available the remainder of the draft. But I think that it depends on your draft spot. If you got a top 3, top 4 pick, Bijan, or the 2 wide receivers, JD or Chase, are to the moon to me. And if I don't get one of those 3, I don't even want a top 5 pick. I want to be drafted later so I can get Garrett Wilson and St. Brown, come back and get Kenneth Walker and Gibbs. If you can get Kenneth Walker and Gibbs as your 2 RBs in 3 and 4, which you might not be able to do in a 14 team, but you never know, that sets you up to do whatever the hell you want in rounds 1 and 2. And I love Burrow and Fields in 4 or 5 in a 14-teamer. And a 14-teamer, you know, obviously the more picks you have in each round, by the time you get to the 4th round, it's really like nearing the 5th round in terms of value. So you might have to go Burrow or Fields a little earlier than you would in a normal draft. But, you know, ideal team for me is always going to be like Bijan, Olave, Gibbs, and Walker and Fields. Like that would crush if you could come out with that team, you know, or Chase and let's say you were able to get Burrow and Gibbs and you went early because it's a 14-teamer or whatever, and then you walk into the next round, you get Walker and London or Walker and Watson. Those are phenomenal approaches as well. So those would be the approaches I would like in general spitball at you. Travis with a super chat. Smitty, best tight end ever, Gronk or Gonzalez? I probably say very close. I mean, it's almost like different eras, not really, but kind of. And I don't know, they're different tight ends, and they're both arguable. I guess I would say you could make the argument for Gronk, you know, but are you arguing statistically? Or are you arguing just, you know, who is the most dangerous tight end threat in their era? Dustin says, hey, Smitty, now that Chig is a moon man, we need his own player hype video. Okay, we'll definitely create one. Don't worry. Appreciate you. Getting Chiggy with it. Dun, 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 dun. We'll do something similar to that. I don't know. We'll figure that out. Appreciate you all. I will see you all tonight. We'll be drafting live. Peace out, unless we get a $20 hauler, and I'll extend the show for 2 minutes if that happens. Appreciate you all and all the super chats. Thank you for everything you guys have dropped today. Thank you, Matt. Appreciate you, Matt. See you later. Travis Rowe, Frank, appreciate you. Best to ever play the position I was getting at. I guess I'd still say Gronk, but it's very arguable. I could say Tony Gonzalez too. You could say Kelsey for sure. Kelsey wins another Super Bowl. It's probably Kelsey. It probably would be Kelsey, then it would be Gronk. Like, Kelsey's still going. Kelsey will probably be the number 1 tight end to ever play because he's still dropping it, you know. Now, what did we say last time when this happened? It was what did we call it? The not so fast hauler. We got another not so fast $20 hauler.
Alert. Super chat alert.
$20 super chat. $20 super chat.
Another 2 minutes based on Ron Navy's $20 hauler. Appreciate Ron saying Gonzalez, he is a Hall of Famer and played more games, not injured as much. Very arguable. That's definitely something I could get behind any one of those answers, to be honest with you. I mean, Kelsey, Gonzalez, and Jimmy Graham was up there, but I wouldn't say he was the best. I would say Kelsey, Gonzalez, and Gronk are the arguable ones. Detroit knows tight end better than than the league, says Frank. Detroit knows tight end. I don't know. Kelsey is by far my favorite fantasy tight end, period, says Space Ricky. And some people didn't play fantasy football with Tony Gonzalez. You calling a player the GOAT always ends an argument, says Atlanta. Not really, because everybody's got a different GOAT, especially if we're talking about basketball. You got people that think, some players like crush Michael Jordan, or some people don't give Larry Bird the respect he gets because, people think he wouldn't have played the same in today's era, but he would have. Or Babe Ruth, who was smoking cigarettes and drinking beers while he's swinging and preparing to go out there to the plate. What if he had good training? He would have been different physically, different physical state. So hard to compare eras, to be honest. And Jordan said that. Jordan said, I don't think you can compare eras. It's not fair to the players, especially if he even said, I wouldn't call myself the best because you just don't know. Wilt, he didn't play with Wilt. He can't be compared to Wilt. Kelsey isn't a blocker. Then you're talking about difference of okay, is Kittle the best tight end in the league overall because of his ability to block? And then that's a whole different argument. And I think, tough to bring in. Shannon Sharp was a beast. He was a beast. He was obviously really, really good as well. Antonio Gates was a monster. I mean, he's got to be up there too. Antonio Gates was, he was so amazing. I don't even know how we could not bring him into the conversation too. We'd have to. Shannon Sharp was amazing for his era, and you wonder what he would have been like in today's football era if he was training differently. And I'm not saying he wasn't training well, but I just mean everybody would be better. Everybody's faster, stronger. The league's hits harder, and people say that it doesn't, but it does, because I have NFL players that have come on the show before saying that it is a stronger, faster, harder hitting NFL, and it's partially why there's so many running back injuries, because they're taking a beating at a younger age for a longer period of time. And if you think about if someone were to, in boxing, punch someone's face, right? You're going to have a certain amount of damage done, right? But if every punch you got dating back to the very beginning of a very long boxing career, if you imagine this, if every punch you took had just a little bit, just a fraction of a pound of pressure more, every single punch was a little bit harder, how much longer, if you went all the way back and every punch you had, you added that little bit of power to it, how much shorter of a career would you have had? Would it be 4 years? Would it be 2? Would it be 1? And that's really what happened to the running back, I think, is that the running backs are taking a beating. The reason that 30 years old isn't now the drop-off for RBs, it's now 27, 28, because I think RBs from the beginning of time, when they're starting to play football in Pop Warner, are taking harder hits, and then it's adding up and accumulating. And this is the only thing I could really gather as to why the age has changed from 30-year drop-off for running backs to 27, 28. Ron with another not-so-fast hauler.
Alert. Super chat alert.
Yeah, thank you, Ron. Appreciate it. Ron getting another 2 minutes up in this place here. Let me set this timer to another 2 minutes. Thank you, Ron, for extending the show. Ron is the man with the plan. Show extended 2 minutes. Let's go. Let's ride. What do we got? What other questions? Let's do rapid fire in here real quickly. Gates, steady Eddie, absolutely was. Gates had 116 receiving TDs. Crazy, says Hazelnut. Gates was absolutely bonkers, man. Jimmy Graham was too. I mean, there are a lot of good tight ends that have existed that I think deserve to get mentioned at least. But Travis Kelce, at the end of the day, he wins another championship or two, and it's he's the number one, in my opinion. But you could easily say Gonzo's the guy right now. Sure, you could easily say Gronk is the guy right now. I'm a Browns fan, but appreciate you, Patrick. Thanks for calling in today. Back in the day, players were bigger, stronger, faster, but now the rules protect players. See, I don't know that that's the case, because, like I said, I've had players that come on here and they literally say that is stronger, harder hitting NFL. I think people think it was a harder hitting NFL, but people are more refined, and stronger than they used to be. Odell and Lamar. Odell and Lamar. Oh, Marty likes the connection this year. Patrick, what do you know about Casper without Googling it? Says Atlanta. Tony Gonzalez, yeah. Thank you, Ron, for the $20 super chat. So rewatch the video. If anybody missed the video about Okonkwo, about Kincaid, about Taysom Hill, about Cole Kmet, rewatch the video so you don't miss what was I think a pretty important video because of the ability to win a league if you land an Okonkwo and he becomes a top 5 tight end in fantasy football, like Waller, like TJ Hawkinson, when those guys were ranked very, very late and you could win a league off that. St. Brown or Olave overcome says for $2 holler. Thank you, my guy. I would say you got to go St. Brown. You got to go St. Brown. I love both of them, and I'm not saying that Olave can't finish ahead of St. Brown. He certainly can, and he could be a top 5 guy, but St. Brown is top 11, top 10 to me. And Olave is a crafty guy that honestly could be that good. He could be that good. He really, really could be that good or better, but he's going in round 2 in really sharp leagues, but round 3 and 4 in like grandma leagues. So it's not really close, and you got to let Olave fall at least a round, but in some cases he falls to round 3. So it's really not a debate, but I do love both of them, but you got to take St. Brown. Aside from Kelsey, Gronk, Scott, many more 1,000-yard seasons. Gronk is a beast, but he also had Brady and Mahomes for Kelsey, and there's a lot of factors involved. Kincaid rookie draft position 1.8. I'd take him as high as 1.5, 1.6, 1.7. So 1.8 is a steal for me. Is K9 and Charbonnet combo good for Dynasty? Absolutely. I love the duo, but you got to have the duo. All right, appreciate you all. I'll see you tonight. Thank you for the super chats. St. Brown or Garrett Wilson, I think pretty close. I'd probably take Garrett Wilson, but I love both of them. And honestly, you might take St. Brown and get Garrett Wilson to fall, and you can end up with both of them by taking St. Brown first. Did Olave tweak his Achilles? There was some soreness that he sat out with, but we're not hearing that there's any issue at all. It's just, more like a calf injury, that's just really low. And so your calf and your Achilles connect, and so it has people, freaking out, but I wouldn't worry about that at all. I will see you all later. Appreciate those $20 haulers, Ron. Thank you all. I will see you tonight. We're drafting tonight. Make sure you click that link that's pinned in the live chat. We'll be drafting tonight. Let's go. Someone said that animation was too loud, so I've turned it down, so I'm sorry if it was blasting earlier. So let's go back to it. I think I set the volume at a good level. I'm sorry about that. Here we go. See you all tonight. Code Smitty. Link in the live chat. Link in the description. Let's draft tonight. Later.